What if one visit could change everything you thought you knew? Imagine the world watching as Elon Musk, the enigmatic billionaire known for his space ventures, electric cars, and wild ideas about the future, suddenly steps onto the ancient marble steps of the Vatican. It was a surprise no one saw coming. Why would a man so deeply entrenched in technology and innovation seek an audience with one of the most traditional, spiritual centers on Earth? The questions flooded social media and news outlets, sparking rumors, disbelief, and intense speculation. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Sarah Thompson sat in her modest New York apartment scrolling through the latest headlines on her tablet, eyes narrowing as the news popped up. Elon Musk's unexpected Vatican visit raises eyebrows worldwide. As a seasoned journalist specializing in tech and global affairs, Sarah was no stranger to big stories, but this one felt different. There was an undercurrent of something deeper beneath the flash of cameras and official press releases. She leaned back, remembering the time years ago when she'd first interviewed Elon Musk. That meeting had left a mark, an uneasy sense that beneath his visionary public image lay a complex man battling private storms. Now, years later, his visit to the Vatican seemed to open a door to secrets far beyond the reach of headline news. Sarah's thoughts drifted back to her own story. She wasn't just any journalist. She was the daughter of a man who had vanished mysteriously when she was a child, a disappearance that had left her with a gnawing hunger for truth and justice. The world of powerful men and shadowy alliances had always seemed frighteningly close, and now it was pulling her in again. The news ticker showed brief footage of Musk walking through the Vatican's grand gates, his expression unreadable, flanked by suited officials and clergy members in traditional robes. The press conferences held after his meetings were vague, filled with diplomatic language about shared visions and future collaborations, but nothing concrete was revealed. Sarah knew there was more beneath the surface. She grabbed her notebook and began jotting down names, dates, and potential contacts she could reach out to. If this story was going to break wide open, she needed to understand what motivated Musk to make this unprecedented pilgrimage. She recalled a line from her last interview with him: "Sometimes the future isn't just about technology, it's about what we believe, what we hope humanity can become." Could this visit be about something more than business or publicity? Could it be a quest for meaning, or something even stranger? Sarah's phone buzzed, breaking her reverie. A message popped up from an unknown number: "Stop digging. Some doors are better left closed." Her heart skipped a beat. Threats weren't new to her, but the timing was chilling. She typed back cautiously, "Who is this?" No reply. The room felt suddenly colder, the shadows lengthening as dusk settled outside. Sarah stood by her window, looking out at the city lights flickering in the distance. What was Elon Musk hiding? And why had the Vatican, a fortress of ancient faith and tradition, opened its gates to a man so emblematic of the future? The contrast was stark and mysterious. She knew the journey ahead wouldn't be easy. Powerful forces, both secular and spiritual, were at play. This wasn't just a story about a man or a visit, it was about something that could change the balance of power, of faith, and technology on a global scale. Her instincts screamed at her to proceed with caution, but her spirit demanded the truth. She whispered to herself, "What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?" For Sarah, it was the memory of her father and the belief that truth was a light that could never be extinguished. With renewed determination, she began outlining her plan. First, she would revisit her contacts in Silicon Valley, those who might have insight into Musk's recent activities. Then, she would reach out to experts on the Vatican, historians, and insiders who might explain why the Holy See would entertain such a high-profile meeting. As she prepared for a deep dive into this enigma, the weight of the unknown settled over her like a fog. Somewhere in the shadows, unseen watchers were waiting, and the line between ally and enemy was blurred. But Sarah was ready. Whatever lay ahead, she would face it head-on. This story was bigger than just a scoop, it was a chance to unravel the intertwining of faith, power, and innovation in a world on the brink of transformation. And so the curtain rose on a tale of secrets and revelations, a journey into the heart of a mystery that began with a simple question: what if one visit could change everything you thought you knew? Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Sarah Thompson's past wasn't just a collection of memories, it was the lens through which she saw the world, a world that often felt fragile and uncertain. Born and raised in a small town in Pennsylvania, Sarah's childhood was marked by warmth and love until the day her father disappeared without a trace. James Thompson was a local journalist, passionate and relentless in pursuit of the truth, much like Sarah herself. But one evening, after uncovering a story that threatened powerful local figures, he vanished, leaving behind a shattered family and a trail of unanswered questions. Sarah was only 10 years old then, but the impact of that loss carved deep scars in her heart. Her mother tried to shield her from the darkness, but Sarah grew up with an unrelenting drive to understand what had happened, to fill the void left by her father's silence. That thirst for answers had shaped her education, her career, and the way she approached every story she covered. She believed that beneath every headline, beneath every official statement, there was a truth waiting to be uncovered, often buried under layers of deception and fear. This personal history gave Sarah an edge but also left her vulnerable. Trust was hard to come by, and the weight of her father's legacy was a constant companion. Her relationships, too, had been colored by that past. Sarah's closest friend, Emma, had stood by her through thick and thin, a fierce advocate and confidant who knew every detail of Sarah's journey. Emma was the balance to Sarah's intensity, practical, grounded, and endlessly loyal. Together, they had weathered the storms of public scrutiny and private heartbreak. Then there was Michael, her ex-boyfriend and former colleague, whose complicated relationship with Sarah had added another layer of emotional complexity to her life. Their bond had been forged in the crucible of demanding journalism, but ultimately, the ghosts of Sarah's past and her relentless pursuit of truth had driven a wedge between them. Yet, despite the fractures, Michael remained an important figure in her world, a reminder that even amid chaos, human connections endured. Sarah's professional life was no less complicated. After graduating from Columbia Journalism School, she quickly rose through the ranks of a major news outlet in New York, known for her incisive interviews and fearless exposés. But Sarah didn't chase celebrity scoops or clickbait, she sought stories that mattered, stories that revealed the hidden forces shaping the world. That's what had led her to Elon Musk years ago. Their first encounter had been a whirlwind interview at Tesla's headquarters, where Musk's vision of a future powered by sustainable energy had captivated Sarah's imagination. But beneath his charismatic veneer, she sensed a restless spirit wrestling with doubts and contradictions. Over time, she'd watched him evolve from an ambitious entrepreneur to a figure both admired and scrutinized worldwide. So when news of his Vatican visit broke, Sarah felt that old spark of curiosity ignite. There was a narrative waiting to be told, one that might expose not only the man behind the headlines but also the forces pulling the strings behind the scenes. In the weeks leading up to the visit, Sarah had begun digging into Musk's recent activities, his ventures into artificial intelligence, his cryptic social media posts, and whispers of secret meetings with political and religious leaders. It was a complex web that defied easy explanations. What could possibly bring a man obsessed with rockets and technology to the heart of a religious empire rooted in centuries-old tradition? Sarah's investigation took her first to Silicon Valley, where she reconnected with old contacts. Among them was Lisa Ramirez, a tech insider with a knack for spotting trends and a deep skepticism of Musk's ambitions. Lisa warned Sarah about the risks involved. "Elon's not just a businessman," she said. "He's a disruptor, but there are shadows in his orbit, people who want to control the future in ways you can't imagine." Lisa's words echoed in Sarah's mind as she made her way to the Vatican experts. She contacted Dr. Robert Langley, a historian specializing in the Catholic Church's relationship with science and technology. His insights added another layer to the mystery. "The Vatican has long balanced faith with the evolving world of knowledge," Langley explained. From Galileo to bioethics, the Church has walked a delicate line. Elon's visit suggests a new chapter, perhaps an unprecedented alliance or a confrontation. Sarah's interviews painted a picture of tension beneath the surface, where progress and tradition collided in unpredictable ways. Meanwhile, the anonymous threats had grown more frequent. Messages warning her to stop investigating, shadowy figures glimpsed outside her apartment, and strange glitches in her phone reminded her that she was stepping into dangerous territory. Yet Sarah refused to be deterred. She knew the stakes were high, not just for her career, but for the truth her father had died chasing. At home, Sarah wrestled with the loneliness that accompanied her quest. She reached out to Emma more often now, their conversations a lifeline. Emma urged caution but understood Sarah's resolve. "Just don't lose yourself in the process," she warned. "Remember why you started this." Sarah nodded, but the fire inside her burned too brightly. In quiet moments, she reflected on her father's voice, on the courage it took to stand against silence. That courage had become her compass. As the Vatican visit loomed closer, Sarah prepared to follow Elon Musk's footsteps to Rome. She booked a flight, arranged meetings, and steeled herself for what lay ahead. This was no longer just a story, it was a journey into the unknown, where every revelation could bring her closer to the truth, or deeper into danger. On the night before her departure, Sarah sat by the window again, gazing at the city lights. The memory of her father's last words echoed in her mind, "Seek the light, even when it's hidden in darkness." She whispered to herself, "What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?" The answer was clear: hope. Hope that truth mattered, that justice was possible, and that the path she walked might finally lead her to answers. With her bags packed and heart ready, Sarah closed her notebook and switched off the light. Tomorrow, the journey would begin. Sarah's connection to Elon Musk ran deeper than most outsiders could guess. Their relationship was forged in a moment of shared intensity during her first in-depth interview with him, years earlier. Back then, Elon was a man straddling two worlds, the relentless entrepreneur dreaming of colonizing Mars and the deeply private individual wrestling with the weight of expectations. Sarah had seen flashes of vulnerability beneath his confident exterior, moments when the carefully constructed image cracked, revealing a restless mind searching for meaning. After that interview, she'd kept tabs on him, tracking his successes and setbacks, fascinated by the contradictions that made him both inspiring and enigmatic. They weren't friends, not in the usual sense, but there was a fragile trust born from mutual respect. Elon respected Sarah's commitment to truth, and Sarah admired his audacity and vision, even if she sometimes questioned the cost. When news of his Vatican visit broke, Sarah immediately thought of Elon's cryptic words during their last exchange: "The future is about more than tech, it's about values, belief, and what we leave behind." She wondered if this visit was part of that deeper quest. To understand the man behind the headlines, Sarah reached out to a mutual contact, an aide who had worked closely with Musk on his earlier ventures. The call was brief and cautious, but it confirmed what Sarah had suspected: Elon's Vatican visit wasn't just a photo op. It was tied to a confidential initiative with stakes far beyond business deals or public relations. Over the following days, Sarah pieced together fragments from insiders and former colleagues. Elon had been increasingly involved in discussions about artificial intelligence ethics, the moral implications of space colonization, and the role of religion in guiding humanity's future. These conversations often took place in shadowy backrooms and private retreats, worlds away from the public eye. Sarah knew the stakes were high. Elon wasn't the type to seek spiritual counsel casually. For him to meet with Vatican officials suggested a convergence of worlds: technology and faith, innovation and tradition. She remembered the uneasy feeling she'd had years ago, sensing that Musk's mind was a battlefield where logic and emotion clashed. Now, it seemed those battles were unfolding on a global stage. Sarah's investigation led her to an unexpected source: Elon's former personal assistant, Claire Reynolds, who had left his team abruptly months before the Vatican visit. Claire was guarded but agreed to meet Sarah at a quiet cafe in San Francisco. Over coffee, Claire hinted at the pressures Elon faced behind the scenes. "He's always chasing the next frontier," Claire said softly. "But lately, there's been something different, a weight. He talks about legacy, about what we owe the future." Claire's words echoed Sarah's suspicions. Elon's visit wasn't just about ambition, it was deeply personal. But Claire warned Sarah to tread carefully. Powerful interests surrounded Musk, some eager to exploit his influence, others determined to control it. "You don't want to get caught in the crossfire," Claire said, eyes flickering nervously. Sarah nodded, knowing the risks but unable to step back. Her commitment to uncovering the truth outweighed the fear. Back in New York, Sarah's editor pushed her to focus on safer stories, but she insisted on pursuing this one. She knew the importance of timing. The Vatican visit was a narrow window, and she needed to move fast. With a mixture of excitement and apprehension, Sarah booked her flight to Rome. She contacted Emma, who promised to support her remotely, monitoring threats and offering advice. Emma's steady presence was a lifeline amid the chaos. As the departure day approached, Sarah found herself reflecting on the strange intersection of her life and Elon's. Both driven by a desire to uncover or create something greater, both shadowed by personal demons. The journey ahead felt like stepping into a story much larger than herself, one filled with intrigue, danger, and perhaps redemption. On the plane, Sarah reviewed her notes, preparing questions for the insiders she hoped to meet in Rome. She pictured Elon walking the Vatican halls, the clash of old stones and new ideas echoing in the air. What secrets lay behind those walls? What truths would she uncover? When she landed in Rome, the city greeted her with its timeless beauty and layered history. The narrow cobblestone streets, the whispers of centuries past, and the imposing presence of the Vatican created an atmosphere charged with mystery. Sarah felt the weight of her mission settle on her shoulders as she made her way to a rented apartment overlooking St. Peter's Square. The evening was cool, and the distant sound of church bells mingled with the murmur of tourists and locals. She opened her laptop and began drafting the first article she would publish once she had enough evidence to break the story wide open. Her first lead was a scholar named Dr. Elena Ferraro, an expert on the Vatican's modern diplomacy. Sarah arranged to meet Elena at a small bookshop tucked away from the busy streets. The conversation with Elena revealed unexpected complexity. The Vatican has historically been cautious about technological change, Elena explained. But in recent years, there has been a shift. Pope Francis has spoken about the need to engage with science and ethics in a way that serves humanity. Elena hinted at secret meetings between Vatican officials and tech leaders, describing a network of dialogue aimed at shaping the future responsibly. Sarah sensed an unspoken tension beneath Elena's calm demeanor, perhaps a warning that the stakes were delicate. After the meeting, Sarah wandered through the Vatican's gardens, the fragrant blooms contrasting with the political intrigue she was uncovering. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Back at her apartment, she found a note slipped under the door: "Stop now or suffer the consequences." The threat was chilling but only strengthened her resolve. She replied silently in her mind, "I'm not stopping. Not until I know the truth." The next day, Sarah secured a meeting with a Vatican insider who had agreed to speak off the record. Their conversation was held in a quiet cafe, where the insider spoke in hushed tones about a secret project involving Musk, something that could redefine humanity's relationship with technology and faith. Sarah learned of a collaborative effort to explore artificial intelligence's moral dimensions, with Musk providing resources and innovation, while the Vatican offered ethical guidance. It was an unprecedented alliance, fraught with tension and skepticism on both sides. Sarah pressed for details, but the insider could only say that the initiative was still in its infancy and surrounded by controversy. As Sarah left the cafe, she was overwhelmed by the enormity of what she was uncovering. This wasn't just a visit, it was the opening act of a drama that could shape the future of mankind. Yet the shadows loomed large. That night, her phone buzzed with another anonymous message: "You're in over your head." Despite the warnings, Sarah felt a flicker of hope. She wasn't alone. Somewhere within the Vatican's walls, others were working for a vision that transcended fear and control. Sarah's story was just beginning, and with every step, she moved closer to unveiling a truth that might change everything. The unexpected turn in Sarah's investigation came one rainy afternoon when her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number: "Meet me at Ponte Sant'Angelo. Midnight. Come alone." The cryptic message both intrigued and alarmed her, but Sarah knew better than to ignore such calls in a story this deep. The Ponte Sant'Angelo, the ancient bridge over the Tiber River, was a place rich with history and shadows, perfect for a secret meeting. That night, wrapped in a dark coat, she navigated the slick cobblestones, the cold rain tapping softly on her umbrella. The street lamps cast golden pools of light that barely pierced the mist curling over the water. When she reached the designated spot, a figure emerged from the shadows, tall, hooded, and cautious. The voice was low and urgent. "You're digging too deep. What you're chasing isn't just a story, it's a storm waiting to break." The stranger handed Sarah a small envelope and slipped away before she could ask more. Inside were documents hinting at something far bigger than she had imagined: plans for a secret Vatican initiative codenamed Project Ascendant, involving Elon Musk and a coalition of scientists, theologians, and government officials. The papers described experiments aimed at integrating advanced AI with human consciousness, a project with ethical implications so profound it could redefine what it meant to be human. Sarah's heart pounded. This was no ordinary visit. Musk's involvement in the Vatican was part of a larger, unprecedented attempt to merge faith, technology, and power on a scale the world had never seen. The weight of the revelation settled over her like a stone, but instead of fear, she felt a surge of determination. She had to follow this trail, no matter where it led. Over the next days, Sarah's world narrowed to this secret project. She reached out to experts in neuroscience and AI, trying to verify the authenticity of the documents. Some dismissed them as conspiracy theory fodder, while others expressed genuine concern about the ethical boundaries being crossed. Her interviews deepened her understanding of the potential and dangers of blending human cognition with artificial intelligence, an idea both thrilling and terrifying. Meanwhile, the Vatican remained tight-lipped, issuing only routine statements about their commitment to dialogue between science and faith. The official narrative was calm, almost dismissive, but Sarah knew better. Behind the polished speeches, powerful factions were maneuvering in silence. Her contact, the insider who had spoken at the cafe, now urged caution. Project Ascendant is divisive, they warned. Some see it as salvation, others as blasphemy. The Vatican is a battleground of ideas, and Musk's presence has intensified the conflict. Sarah's days blurred into nights as she chased leads through winding alleys, libraries, and secure networks. Every conversation revealed new layers of intrigue: secret meetings held in underground chambers, encrypted communications between Silicon Valley and Rome, and whispers of technology that could alter the very fabric of human existence. Yet, amid the complexity, Sarah found moments of unexpected humanity. During a visit to a monastery near the Vatican, she met Father Matteo, a young priest fascinated by the ethical questions raised by AI. Their discussions were profound, touching on the nature of the soul, free will, and the meaning of life in an age of machines. Father Matteo's quiet faith and open mind offered Sarah a glimpse of hope, that science and spirituality might find common ground, even in the face of such radical change. But danger shadowed every step. Sarah's apartment was broken into, her files rifled through but nothing stolen. Her digital devices were hacked repeatedly, forcing her to rely on secure channels and encrypted communication. The warnings escalated from veiled threats to direct intimidation. Yet, the mystery of Elon Musk's Vatican visit was too important to abandon. The turning point came when Sarah managed to arrange an interview with a former Vatican security official who had resigned over the project's secrecy. In a hushed, dimly lit room, the man revealed the high stakes involved. Project Ascendant could change humanity's destiny, he said gravely. But it's also a battleground for control, between those who seek enlightenment and those who crave power. He described how Elon Musk was both a visionary and a pawn, caught between forces he barely understood. The official warned Sarah that her pursuit of the story had made her a target, and urged her to be careful. But instead of deterring her, the encounter steeled her resolve. She realized that the story wasn't just about Elon Musk or the Vatican. It was about a world on the brink of transformation, where technology, faith, and politics collided in a volatile mix. Sarah's journey had taken her from the streets of New York to the heart of Rome's ancient power. Now, she was standing at the edge of a revelation that could shake the foundations of society. The night before her planned meeting with an influential Vatican insider, Sarah sat by her window, the city lights twinkling beneath a starless sky. She thought of her father, of the quest for truth that had shaped her life. "What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?" she whispered into the darkness. The answer was clear: courage. The courage to face uncertainty, to challenge powerful interests, and to believe that the truth, no matter how dangerous, was worth pursuing. As dawn broke over Rome, Sarah prepared for what might be the most important interview of her career. The story was no longer just a scoop. It was a journey into the heart of a mystery that could redefine the future of humanity itself. The day of the interview arrived with an unusual stillness hanging over Rome. Sarah's nerves tingled with a mix of anticipation and caution as she made her way through the city's winding streets toward a discreet location arranged by her Vatican insider. The place was a small, nondescript office tucked away in a quiet part of the city, far from the tourist throngs. As Sarah entered, she was greeted by a man in his late 50s, Father Johnny Moretti, a theologian and close advisor to several senior Vatican officials. His demeanor was calm but intense, the kind of man who carried the weight of history on his shoulders. The moment Sarah sat down, Father Johnny began to speak without preamble. "Project Ascendant is unlike anything the Church has encountered before," he said. "It's a convergence of faith and technology that challenges everything we understand about the human soul and the future of mankind." He explained that the Vatican's involvement with Elon Musk stemmed from a shared concern over the rapid development of artificial intelligence and its potential to outpace ethical safeguards. Musk, with his resources and vision, had become a pivotal figure in a confidential initiative seeking to navigate these uncharted waters. Father Johnny described the project as an effort to create a framework for integrating AI with human consciousness, not just as a tool but as a partner in human evolution. This raised profound questions. What did it mean for free will, for the sanctity of life, and for the soul? Sarah listened intently, feeling the enormity of the implications. The Church, often seen as a bastion of tradition, was engaging with the bleeding edge of science in ways few expected. Yet, beneath the official support, there was fierce internal opposition. Conservative factions viewed Project Ascendant as a dangerous flirtation with the divine, a potential breach of sacred boundaries. Father Johnny admitted that the Vatican was a place of political intrigue as much as spiritual guidance, and Musk's involvement had stirred passions and fears alike. Sarah pressed him on Musk himself. How did the Vatican perceive the man who was both visionary and controversial? Father Johnny smiled wryly. "Elon is a paradox. His genius is undeniable, but he is also impulsive, driven by ambition and haunted by doubts. The Church sees him as a potential catalyst for change but also as a symbol of humanity's struggle to reconcile progress with morality." The conversation shifted to the practicalities of the project, encrypted meetings held deep within Vatican vaults, alliances with top scientists from around the world, and Musk's personal commitment to funding research that could alter the course of human history. Sarah's mind raced. The story was bigger than she had imagined, a tapestry of technology, faith, power, and human desire intertwined in ways few understood. After the interview, Sarah stepped outside into the cool Roman air, the sounds of the city muted by the gravity of what she had learned. She walked toward St. Peter's Square, where the early morning light illuminated the basilica's majestic facade. Her thoughts drifted to the public face of Elon Musk. The tweets, the product launches, the public debates, and the hidden world she was now peeling back. It was a world of secret alliances and ethical battles, where the future of humanity was being shaped in shadows. As she made her way back to her apartment, Sarah's phone buzzed with a new message from an anonymous source: "Truth will set you free, but first it will make you a target." The warning was chilling, but Sarah felt no fear. Instead, it steeled her resolve. She was part of something far greater than herself, a witness to history in the making. In the following days, Sarah continued to dig deeper, uncovering leaked documents that detailed the experimental stages of Project Ascendant. The research involved neural interfaces designed to connect human brains directly with AI systems, aiming to enhance cognition, memory, and decision-making. The potential benefits were staggering: curing diseases, extending life, even transcending physical limitations. But the ethical dilemmas were just as profound. Who would control this technology? How would it affect identity and autonomy? And what role would faith play in guiding its use? Sarah's conversations with scientists and ethicists revealed a divided community. Some saw the project as a beacon of hope, others as a Pandora's box threatening the essence of humanity. Meanwhile, tensions within the Vatican grew palpable. Sarah received word that high-ranking cardinals were preparing to challenge the project publicly, warning of spiritual dangers and calling for transparency. Elon Musk, she learned, was aware of the internal resistance but remained committed to pushing forward, driven by a vision of humanity's next evolutionary leap. The conflict was reaching a climax. One evening, Sarah attended a secret gathering of intellectuals and clergy sympathetic to the project. The room buzzed with passionate debate, visions of a new renaissance clashing with fears of hubris and apocalypse. Among the attendees was a philosopher who warned that Project Ascendant was not just about technology but about power, the power to redefine life, consciousness, and ultimately, who holds dominion over the future. Sarah took careful notes, realizing that her story was no longer just a report but a narrative of competing visions for the soul of humanity. As the Vatican prepared to host Elon Musk officially, Sarah sensed that the world was on the cusp of a revelation. The visit would not just be a meeting of a tech billionaire with religious leaders, it would be a historic moment where the future was being negotiated in the halls of an ancient institution. The night before Musk's arrival, Sarah reflected on the journey that had brought her here, from a curious journalist chasing a scoop to a witness standing at the intersection of faith and technology. She thought of her father's disappearance, the unanswered questions, and the courage it took to seek truth in the face of danger. "What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?" she murmured into the quiet. The answer remained steadfast: hope. Hope that the truth, no matter how complex or unsettling, was a light that could guide humanity through uncertainty. As dawn broke over Rome, Sarah prepared her questions for the most important interview of her life. The story was no longer just about Elon Musk's Vatican visit, it was about the future of humanity itself, a future poised on the edge of transformation and revelation. The morning of Elon Musk's official Vatican visit dawned crisp and clear, a rare calm settling over the city of Rome as the world awaited what many anticipated would be a historic encounter. Sarah found herself at a discreet vantage point near the entrance to the Apostolic Palace, blending into a crowd of journalists, Vatican staff, and security personnel. Cameras flashed as Musk, dressed in a sharp dark suit, stepped out of his sleek electric car. His expression was serious, almost contemplative, betraying none of the usual bravado he showed in public appearances. Sarah's heart quickened as she watched him move with purpose toward the grand doors of the Vatican. This visit was unlike any other Musk had made. It was not a launch event, not a keynote speech. This was a meeting heavy with symbolism and stakes that stretched far beyond business or technology. Inside the Vatican's hallowed halls, Elon was to meet Pope Francis and a select group of cardinals, theologians, and scientists to discuss the future of Project Ascendant, the secret initiative that had consumed Sarah's investigation. The air inside was thick with anticipation, a mix of reverence and apprehension. Musk was ushered into a richly decorated chamber where the Pope awaited him, his gaze steady and warm. The meeting began with formal greetings but quickly moved into deeper discussions about the moral and spiritual dimensions of merging human consciousness with artificial intelligence. Pope Francis spoke candidly about the responsibility humanity held to safeguard the dignity of the person, emphasizing that technological progress must serve the common good and respect the divine spark within every individual. Musk listened intently, acknowledging the Pope's concerns while articulating his vision of a future where technology could elevate human potential and help solve existential threats like climate change and space colonization. The dialogue was respectful but charged, each man representing different facets of a shared but complicated human journey. As the meeting progressed, Sarah, stationed just outside the chamber, felt the gravity of the moment settle over her. This was not merely a photo opportunity but a critical conversation at the crossroads of faith, science, and ethics. Later that day, Sarah secured an exclusive interview with one of the Vatican scientists involved in Project Ascendant. Dr. Lorenzo Vitali explained the scientific goals: to develop safe neural interfaces that could enhance cognition, enable communication with artificial intelligences, and ultimately create a symbiotic relationship between humans and machines. He spoke of the challenges, technical, ethical, and spiritual, and the rigorous debates within the Church regarding the limits of human enhancement. Dr. Vitali shared his belief that humanity was entering a new epoch, one where the boundaries between organic and artificial intelligence would blur, raising profound questions about identity and the soul. Sarah sensed in his words a blend of excitement and caution, hope tempered by humility. Outside the Vatican, however, public reactions were mixed. News outlets spun the visit in various ways. Some hailed it as a visionary step toward a new era of cooperation between science and religion, others warned of dangerous overreach and potential abuses of power. Social media erupted with heated debates, conspiracy theories, and calls for transparency. Sarah's reporting, grounded in careful investigation and first-hand accounts, sought to cut through the noise, presenting the complex reality behind the headlines. Over the next few days, Sarah met with several individuals connected to the project: engineers, ethicists, clergy, each offering different perspectives. A common thread emerged: Project Ascendant was as much a philosophical and spiritual experiment as a technological one. It challenged humanity to reconsider fundamental assumptions about life, consciousness, and the divine. In quiet moments, Sarah reflected on the personal toll the investigation had taken. She missed Emma's steady support, and the constant threats and surveillance wore on her. Yet, she remained driven by the belief that truth mattered, that her work could illuminate the profound questions at the heart of this unfolding story. One evening, as Sarah prepared to send her latest article to her editor, she received a surprise message from Elon Musk himself, an invitation to a private meeting at a secure location in Rome. The message was brief but unmistakably personal: "Your questions show understanding. Let's talk." The meeting took place in a modern, glass-walled building overlooking the Tiber. Musk greeted Sarah with a measured smile, his eyes reflecting a mixture of intensity and fatigue. The conversation was candid and revealing. Musk spoke of his vision for humanity's future, not just surviving on Earth but thriving beyond it, augmented by technology that respected human values. He acknowledged the risks inherent in Project Ascendant, including fears of losing what made us human, but insisted that inaction was not an option. "We're at a tipping point," he said. "If we don't engage thoughtfully, others will shape the future without conscience or care." Sarah pressed him on the ethical dilemmas, the opposition within the Vatican, and the concerns raised by critics worldwide. Musk admitted the journey was fraught with challenges and that the project was a delicate balancing act between innovation and tradition. Yet, he expressed hope that faith and reason could coexist, guiding humanity through unprecedented change. As the meeting concluded, Sarah realized she had glimpsed a man both visionary and vulnerable, wrestling with forces larger than himself. Back in her apartment, she drafted the most comprehensive article of her career, weaving together interviews, documents, and first-hand experience into a narrative that captured the complexity of Elon Musk's Vatican visit and Project Ascendant. The story revealed a world at a crossroads, where faith and technology met in a fragile dialogue that could reshape the future of humanity. As the article went live, Sarah watched the response unfold, supporters praising her courage and insight, detractors questioning her motives and sources. Yet through it all, Sarah remained grounded in one truth: the future was uncertain, filled with risk and promise, but ultimately shaped by the choices humanity made today. She closed her laptop and looked out over Rome, the ancient city glowing softly under the night sky. Life was full of surprises, she thought, but love and hope, the very human qualities Project Ascendant sought to preserve, would always lead the way. And somewhere in that vast tapestry of technology, faith, and human endeavor, Sarah knew her story had only just begun. In the days following Elon Musk's meeting with the Pope, the world seemed to hold its breath. Sarah's article had ignited intense discussions across social media platforms, news outlets, and academic forums. The juxtaposition of the Vatican's centuries-old traditions with the cutting-edge ambitions of Project Ascendant captivated the public imagination like few stories before. Sarah watched as her story spread, comments flooding in from all corners of the globe. Some praised the potential for a new era of enlightenment, where faith and science would guide humanity hand in hand. Others expressed fear and suspicion, worried about the implications of blending human consciousness with artificial intelligence, seeing it as a step too far. As she read through the responses, Sarah was reminded of the question she had posed at the very beginning of her journey: what's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? The answers were as varied as the people who sent them, but the common thread was resilience, the human spirit's refusal to give up, no matter the odds. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the Vatican's internal struggle over Project Ascendant intensified. Sarah received confidential updates from her insider contacts revealing that the upcoming Synod of Bishops would address the moral and theological questions raised by the initiative. This gathering of the Church's highest authorities was expected to be contentious, with passionate voices on both sides of the debate. Sarah prepared herself to cover the Synod, knowing it could become the pivotal moment in the unfolding saga. The Synod convened in the Vatican's Grand Hall, its ornate ceilings and ancient frescoes standing as silent witnesses to the clash of ideas playing out below. Cardinals, bishops, theologians, and scientists debated vigorously, weighing the promise of technological advancement against the risks to human dignity and the soul. Some argued that embracing Project Ascendant was a way to fulfill humanity's divine potential, using God's gifts to elevate life. Others warned that tampering with consciousness risked opening a door to spiritual destruction, likening the project to modern-day Babel, an overreach that would bring chaos. Sarah reported from the sidelines, capturing the fervor of the debates and the gravity of the decisions being considered. She saw in the faces of the participants the weight of responsibility and the clash of worldviews that would shape the Church's stance and influence public opinion worldwide. As the Synod progressed, Sarah found herself drawn deeper into the ethical labyrinth surrounding Project Ascendant. She conducted interviews with ethicists who stressed the importance of transparency and public engagement, cautioning that secrecy bred distrust and fear. Others highlighted the need for rigorous safeguards and international cooperation to ensure that the technology would not be misused or become a tool of oppression. Sarah's own reflections grew more complex. She understood the allure of the project, the hope of curing diseases, overcoming limitations, and perhaps even extending life beyond what was previously possible. But she also sensed the profound uncertainties, about identity, freedom, and what it truly meant to be human. One afternoon, Sarah met with Dr. Helena Ruiz, a neuroscientist who had worked closely with the Vatican team. Dr. Ruiz spoke passionately about the scientific breakthroughs and the challenges of merging the physical brain with AI. She explained how neural implants could enhance memory, accelerate learning, and enable new forms of communication, but also acknowledged the unknown risks, including unintended consequences on personality and emotional health. "We're venturing into a new frontier," Dr. Ruiz said. "It's thrilling but also humbling. We must proceed with care, guided by ethics and compassion." That evening, as Sarah walked through the quiet streets of Rome, she thought about the human stories intertwined with these grand ideas. She recalled her own journey, the losses, the discoveries, the moments of doubt and hope. The pursuit of truth was not just a professional duty but a deeply personal mission. Her phone buzzed with a message from Emma, who was back home in New York, offering words of encouragement and a reminder to stay safe. Sarah smiled, grateful for the friendship that had anchored her through the storm. As the synod neared its conclusion, a breakthrough moment arrived. The Vatican issued a statement acknowledging the potential of Project Ascendant but emphasizing the need for careful ethical guidelines and ongoing dialogue between faith, science, and society. It was a cautious endorsement, reflecting a balance between hope and prudence. Sarah knew this was not the end of the story but a significant milestone. The conversation about humanity's future had been opened, and the world would watch closely as the project moved forward. In the quiet aftermath, Sarah took a moment to reflect on the journey from her first curiosity about Elon Musk's visit to the unfolding narrative of faith, technology, and human destiny. She thought again of the question that had anchored her. What pushed her forward? The answer was clearer than ever, an unwavering belief in the power of stories to illuminate truth, inspire change, and connect us all. As she prepared for the next chapter of her reporting, Sarah felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The future was uncertain, full of promise and peril, but she was determined to bear witness and help others understand the profound questions that now defined her world. In the weeks following the Vatican's cautious statement on Project Ascendant, the story took on a new dimension. What had started as a secretive initiative now became a global conversation, touching on everything from philosophy and ethics to politics and personal identity. Sarah found herself at the center of a maelstrom, balancing the pursuit of truth with the swirling tides of public opinion and powerful interests. One morning, she received an unexpected call from Michael Foster, a former Tesla engineer who had recently gone public with allegations about the risks involved in Project Ascendant. Michael's voice was urgent, tinged with fear and conviction. He claimed that some of the neural interface prototypes had unexpected side effects, changes in behavior, memory loss, even psychological breakdowns that were being quietly covered up. Sarah listened carefully, sensing that his revelations could add a crucial layer to her reporting but also knowing the dangers of dealing with whistleblowers in a story of this magnitude. Over the next days, Sarah arranged to meet Michael in a secure location. The meeting was tense but revealing. Michael shared documents and personal accounts from colleagues who had witnessed the darker side of the research, pressure to meet deadlines, reluctance to report failures, and a culture that sometimes prized ambition over caution. He warned that if unchecked, the project could spiral into a form of technological hubris with devastating consequences. Sarah's mind raced as she absorbed the implications. The promise of Project Ascendant was immense, but so too were the risks of unintended harm and ethical compromise. She realized that her story was not only about innovation and faith but also about the fragile human realities behind grand visions. As she continued her investigation, Sarah reached out to mental health experts who expressed concern over the psychological impacts of neural enhancements. They highlighted the potential for identity disturbances, emotional detachment, and social isolation in individuals interfacing too deeply with artificial intelligences. These experts stressed the need for comprehensive studies and safeguards to protect mental well-being. At the same time, Sarah kept in close contact with Father Johnny Moretti, who had been a voice of cautious optimism within the Vatican. He acknowledged the complexities and risks but reiterated the Church's commitment to ethical oversight and dialogue. Faith must not fear technology, he told her, but it must hold it accountable. Meanwhile, Elon Musk remained publicly engaged, using social media and interviews to advocate for the project's potential benefits. He addressed concerns directly, emphasizing transparency and the ethical frameworks being developed. Yet, behind the scenes, Sarah learned, there were intense internal debates and political maneuvering both within Musk circles and the Vatican. The stakes had never been higher. One evening, Sarah attended a symposium on the future of human enhancement, where experts from diverse fields gathered to discuss the promises and perils of merging biology with technology. The atmosphere was electric, a mix of excitement and caution. Speakers described breakthroughs that could transform medicine, education, and human capabilities but also warned against the temptation to play God without wisdom. During the event, Sarah spoke with Dr. Evelyn Chen, a bioethicist who warned that Project Ascendant raised questions not just about technology but about justice and equality. Who will have access to these enhancements? Dr. Chen asked. Will it create new divides or deepen existing ones? The future we build must be inclusive. These conversations deepened Sarah's understanding of the wider societal implications. Project Ascendant was a mirror reflecting humanity's hopes and fears about progress, power, and what it meant to be human. Back in Rome, tensions within the Vatican culminated in a leaked memo revealing that some cardinals planned to push for a formal investigation into the project's ethical oversight. The leak caused a media firestorm, intensifying scrutiny and political pressure. Sarah's reporting helped shed light on the internal conflicts, revealing a church grappling with its role in an era of rapid technological change. As public debate raged, Sarah found herself the target of both praise and threats. Anonymous messages warned her to stop digging, while supporters rallied around her commitment to truth. She leaned on Emma's unwavering support and the memory of her father's courage to keep going. One night, as Sarah reviewed her notes, a sudden insight struck her. The story was not just about Elon Musk or the Vatican but about a universal human quest. It was about the desire to transcend limitations, to seek meaning in an uncertain world, and to balance ambition with humility. This realization reshaped her approach. Her next article would not only expose facts but also explore the deeper questions that Project Ascendant raised for all of humanity. In the final days before publication, Sarah received an unexpected invitation to join a confidential meeting at the Vatican with key scientists, ethicists, and church leaders. The gathering was described as an unprecedented attempt to build consensus and establish a shared ethical framework for the future. At the meeting, Sarah witnessed a remarkable exchange: voices of faith and science, skepticism and hope, tradition and innovation, all coming together in a rare spirit of collaboration. Musk participated via video call, articulating his vision while listening attentively to concerns. The dialogue was intense but respectful, a microcosm of the global conversation Sarah had been chronicling. As the meeting concluded, a draft declaration was agreed upon, emphasizing transparency, human dignity, ethical responsibility, and global cooperation. It was a tentative but hopeful step toward navigating the unknown together. Walking away from the Vatican that evening, Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose. The story was far from over, but she had witnessed something profound, a reminder that even in moments of uncertainty, dialogue and compassion could light the way. As she prepared her latest piece, Sarah thought once more about the question that had guided her all along: what's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? The answer remained clear: hope. Hope that by telling these stories, by asking the hard questions, humanity could find a path through the challenges ahead, embracing both its technological potential and its timeless values. The future was a story still being written, and Sarah was determined to be its witness. The atmosphere in Rome was charged with anticipation as the International Conference on Human Augmentation convened, drawing scientists, ethicists, religious leaders, policymakers, and activists from around the world. Sarah arrived early, notebook and recorder in hand, determined to capture the nuances of this unprecedented gathering. The conference hall was a striking blend of old and new, ancient Roman columns supporting a sleek, modern glass dome that filtered sunlight onto the assembly below. This symbolic fusion seemed to echo the conference's purpose: to bridge past wisdom and future innovation. Elon Musk was scheduled to give the keynote address, and the room buzzed with speculation about what he would reveal. Sarah found her seat amidst a sea of expectant faces, many of whom she had met during her investigation: Dr. Lorenzo Vitali, Dr. Helena Ruiz, Father Johnny Moretti, and several new voices, including prominent AI ethicist Dr. Simone Carter and human rights advocate Maya Patel. The conference opened with a call for balance, acknowledging the vast promise of neural enhancements and AI integration while urging vigilance against ethical lapses and societal inequities. Speakers emphasized that technology must serve humanity, not dominate it. When Elon took the stage, his demeanor was calmer than in previous public appearances. He spoke not as a visionary entrepreneur alone, but as a man keenly aware of the moral dimensions of his work. He reiterated Project Ascendant's goals: to expand human capacity, to address pressing global challenges like climate change and disease, and to prepare humanity for life beyond Earth. Yet he also acknowledged the fears and doubts voiced by many. "We are not seeking to replace what makes us human," Musk said, "but to enhance and preserve it. It is a delicate path, one that requires humility, transparency, and collaboration with the world's diverse voices." His words were met with applause, but also questions, some sharp and skeptical. The Q&A session revealed a spectrum of opinions: concerns about privacy, fears of widening inequality, doubts about the readiness of such technology, and theological questions about the soul and identity. Sarah noticed the subtle but real tension between optimism and caution. After the keynote, smaller breakout sessions allowed for deeper dialogue. Sarah joined a roundtable on ethical frameworks, where Dr. Simone Carter argued passionately that clear, enforceable international regulations were essential. She warned against leaving such powerful technology to the whims of private corporations or unregulated experimentation. Maya Patel, meanwhile, highlighted the risk that neural enhancements could exacerbate existing social divides. "Who will get access?" she asked. "Will it be only the wealthy elite, creating a new class of enhanced humans while others fall behind?" The discussion was animated, with experts debating how to ensure fairness, consent, and respect for diversity. Sarah took extensive notes, sensing that these conversations would shape not only Project Ascendant but the future of human society. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, Sarah learned of ongoing power struggles. Several Vatican cardinals opposed the project outright, fearing that embracing such technology risked compromising core Christian teachings. Others advocated for a nuanced engagement, believing the Church could guide ethical development. Musk's team was also navigating internal conflicts, balancing the drive for innovation with increasing scrutiny and pressure. Sarah's reporting revealed a complex web of alliances and rivalries, underscoring that Project Ascendant was as much a political as a scientific endeavor. One afternoon, Sarah met privately with Father Johnny Moretti, who confided his hope that the Church's role was not to block progress but to ensure it honored human dignity and spiritual truth. "We must walk with technology, not away from it," he said. "But we must also listen deeply to the wisdom of the past." As the conference progressed, Sarah witnessed moments of profound connection and unexpected breakthroughs. A session on neurodiversity sparked dialogue about embracing different ways of thinking rather than imposing a narrow vision of enhancement. Another on AI's role in creativity and empathy challenged assumptions about what machines could contribute to human flourishing. These discussions revealed that Project Ascendant was not a monolith but a dynamic, evolving conversation touching on the very essence of being human. Late one evening, as Sarah reviewed her notes in her hotel room overlooking the Tiber River, her thoughts drifted to Emma and the life she had left behind. The personal sacrifices of this investigation weighed on her, but so did the sense of purpose it had given her. She realized that her story was no longer just about Elon Musk or the Vatican, it was about the collective human journey toward an unknown horizon. The next day brought a surprise. Elon Musk invited Sarah to a private briefing with key members of his research team. The meeting was held in a sleek, high-tech facility just outside Rome. Musk and his lead scientists shared updates on Project Ascendant's progress, including recent advances in neural interface safety and functionality. They also disclosed new data on the psychological impacts and the measures being taken to address them. Sarah asked probing questions, pushing for transparency about failures and risks. Musk responded candidly, emphasizing the iterative nature of innovation and the importance of ethical oversight. The briefing reinforced Sarah's view of Musk as a complex figure, driven, visionary, sometimes reckless, but deeply engaged with the ethical stakes. As the conference drew to a close, a final plenary session focused on crafting a global charter for human enhancement ethics. Delegates debated language, principles, and enforcement mechanisms, striving for a document that could unite diverse cultures, beliefs, and legal systems. Sarah reported on the unfolding negotiations, capturing the hope and frustration that marked this delicate process. The conference concluded with a call for ongoing dialogue, humility, and a shared commitment to human flourishing. Sarah left Rome feeling both exhilarated and sobered. The path ahead was uncertain and fraught with challenges, but also filled with possibility. She knew her reporting had reached a new level of depth and impact, but also that the story was far from finished. Back home, Sarah prepared her most comprehensive article yet, weaving together the threads of technology, faith, ethics, and human stories she had encountered. She highlighted the conference's spirit of collaboration and caution, Musk's evolving vision, the Vatican's complex stance, and the voices of those urging equity and compassion. As the piece went live, Sarah felt a surge of hope. The dialogue was alive, and humanity stood at a crossroads, one where the choices made today could shape the essence of human existence for generations to come. Her story invited readers to reflect on their own values and hopes, asking the timeless question, in the face of unprecedented change, what does it truly mean to be human? And somewhere deep inside, Sarah knew this question would continue to guide her, fueling the next chapters of a story still being written. In the weeks following the international conference, the conversation around Project Ascendant grew even more intense and multifaceted. Sarah found herself navigating an intricate maze of new developments, shifting alliances, and unexpected revelations. The initial excitement surrounding the Vatican's involvement and Elon Musk's ambitious vision had evolved into a complex debate touching the core of society's values, fears, and hopes. One morning, Sarah received a mysterious encrypted message from an anonymous source claiming to have access to internal documents related to Project Ascendant's development timeline and safety testing protocols. The message hinted at significant undisclosed setbacks and potential risks that had not been communicated publicly. Intrigued and cautious, Sarah arranged a secure meeting with the whistleblower in a discreet cafe in downtown Rome. The individual, identifying themselves only as Lucia, was a former engineer involved early in the project who had grown increasingly concerned about the ethical compromises being made. Lucia revealed that despite public assurances, several critical safety tests had been either rushed or omitted under pressure from corporate executives and influential backers eager to maintain momentum. She warned that these oversights could lead to unpredictable neurological effects, including loss of self-control and severe psychological distress in some subjects. Sarah's pulse quickened as she absorbed the gravity of the information. This was no longer just an ethical debate, it was a potential crisis demanding urgent scrutiny. Yet, she also knew the challenges of verifying anonymous claims and the potential backlash that could follow. Over the next days, Sarah worked tirelessly, corroborating Lucia's claims through additional sources and leaked documents. She reached out to neuroscientists, clinical trial experts, and ethicists who confirmed that the concerns were plausible and alarming. The emerging picture was one of a project hurtling forward at a breakneck pace, sometimes sidelining caution in pursuit of breakthroughs. Meanwhile, the Vatican's response was carefully measured. Officials reiterated their commitment to ethical oversight but emphasized the independent nature of the research teams. However, Sarah's insider contacts hinted at internal tensions, with some church leaders privately expressing frustration and fear over the project's rapid acceleration and the lack of transparency. In the public sphere, the news of Sarah's investigative report sent shockwaves. Media outlets across the world picked up the story, triggering debates, protests, and calls for official inquiries. Governments scrambled to assess the implications, with some proposing emergency regulations on neural enhancement technologies. Elon Musk responded swiftly in a video statement, acknowledging the challenges and affirming a renewed commitment to safety and openness. He framed the revelations as part of the iterative nature of innovation, insisting that lessons were being learned and corrective actions taken. Yet, his words did little to quell the growing unease among the public and the scientific community. Sarah found herself at the heart of a maelstrom, praised for her courage and dedication but also targeted by aggressive critics and legal threats. The personal toll was significant, with threats against her safety and attempts to discredit her work. Emma stood by her side, providing both moral support and practical help, reminding Sarah of the importance of perseverance. As the story unfolded, Sarah uncovered a startling new dimension. Project Ascendant was not just about enhancing human cognition but also about data control and influence. Documents revealed that neural interfaces could potentially collect vast amounts of personal data, from memories to emotional responses, raising profound questions about privacy, autonomy, and consent. Privacy advocates and civil rights organizations joined the chorus of concern, warning of unprecedented risks of surveillance and manipulation. The Vatican's position became increasingly critical, with several leaders calling for strict protections and oversight to safeguard the sanctity of the human mind. Amid the turmoil, Sarah also met with individuals who had undergone early experimental procedures. Their testimonies were deeply moving. Some spoke of awe-inspiring cognitive gains and new perspectives on life, while others described alienation, confusion, and emotional struggles. These personal stories underscored the profound human stakes behind the technical debates. In the midst of the controversy, Sarah was invited to participate in a closed-door roundtable convened by an international coalition of ethicists, scientists, and religious leaders, including representatives from the Vatican. The group sought to draft binding guidelines for the development and application of neural enhancement technologies, balancing innovation with respect for human dignity. The discussions were intense and at times fractious, reflecting the diversity of values and priorities. Sarah's role was unique, bringing journalistic integrity and a commitment to truth-telling to the dialogue. Through these conversations, she gained new insights into the complexities of governing emerging technologies in a globalized world. The roundtable emphasized transparency, informed consent, equity, and safeguards against coercion and misuse. They also highlighted the need for ongoing public engagement and education, recognizing that the future of human augmentation could not be decided solely by experts behind closed doors. As these efforts gained momentum, Sarah found herself reflecting on the broader implications. Project Ascendant was a microcosm of humanity's timeless struggle, the desire to transcend limits balanced against the wisdom to do so responsibly. The narrative was no longer about technology alone but about what it meant to be human in a rapidly changing world. Late one evening, Sarah sat by the window of her Rome apartment, gazing at the ancient city illuminated against the dark sky. She thought about the journeys she had witnessed, the ambitions of Elon Musk, the solemn deliberations of the Vatican, the hopes and fears of scientists and citizens alike. She realized that her own story was intertwined with this larger human drama, a testament to courage, curiosity, and the quest for understanding. With renewed determination, Sarah began drafting her next major piece, a comprehensive exploration of the ethical, spiritual, and social challenges posed by neural enhancement. She aimed to give voice to the many perspectives she had encountered while urging thoughtful reflection and compassionate dialogue. Her article concluded with a call to embrace both innovation and humility, reminding readers that the choices made now would echo through generations. As dawn broke over Rome, Sarah felt a quiet sense of resolve. The story was far from over, but she knew that by shining a light on truth and fostering conversation, she was helping to shape a future where technology and humanity might walk together, not apart. And in that possibility, she found hope. The fallout from Sarah's explosive report reverberated across the globe, sparking debates in parliaments, think tanks, and living rooms alike. The story of Project Ascendant, once a closely guarded secret, was now front and center, challenging assumptions about progress, power, and human identity. Sarah, despite the mounting pressure and personal risks, felt more committed than ever to digging deeper. One afternoon, as she sifted through a trove of leaked internal emails from the Vatican's Scientific Advisory Board, she stumbled upon a revealing thread of correspondence that hinted at a shadow network influencing the project's direction. The messages suggested that several powerful figures, both inside and outside the Church, were maneuvering behind the scenes to shape outcomes according to their own agendas, some motivated by faith, others by political or financial interests. This discovery opened a new chapter in Sarah's investigation. The story was no longer just about technology or ethics but also about power, secrecy, and influence. Determined to uncover the truth, Sarah reached out to a former Vatican insider, Father Matteo, who had resigned his post over concerns about the project's increasing opacity. In a tense, confidential meeting at a quiet cafe near St. Peter's Square, Father Matteo revealed how factions within the Vatican were divided. Some sought to harness the project's potential for spiritual renewal, while others feared it threatened the Church's foundational teachings and authority. He described secretive meetings where ideas about humanity, divinity, and technological transcendence clashed fiercely. "It is a battle for the soul of the Church, and perhaps, of humanity itself," Matteo confided. Sarah absorbed these revelations with a mix of fascination and caution. She realized that understanding Project Ascendant required not only scientific and ethical scrutiny but also insight into these hidden dynamics of belief and ambition. As she delved further, Sarah also uncovered evidence of lobbying efforts targeting international regulators and policymakers. Corporate interests aligned with Musk's vision were pushing for minimal oversight, framing the technology as essential for economic competitiveness and human survival in a changing world. Meanwhile, civil society groups and religious organizations called for stringent controls and ethical frameworks to prevent exploitation and harm. This tug-of-war played out in media narratives, public demonstrations, and closed-door negotiations. Sarah's reporting captured the complexity and urgency of the moment, emphasizing that Project Ascendant was a reflection of broader struggles over the future of governance, morality, and human rights in an era of rapid technological change. Amid this turbulence, Sarah found moments of profound humanity. She interviewed young scientists working on the project who spoke of idealism and hope, yet also doubt and fatigue. They described the exhilaration of pushing boundaries alongside the weight of responsibility. One researcher, Dr. Miguel Torres, shared how his own family's experience with neurodegenerative illness fueled his dedication, hoping the technology could someday offer healing. These personal stories added depth and nuance to Sarah's narrative, reminding her and her readers that behind every innovation were real lives and dreams. In the midst of the storm, Sarah maintained contact with Father Johnny Moretti, whose balanced perspective offered both solace and challenge. Johnny emphasized the need for humility and dialogue, warning against the temptation to either blindly embrace or reject technological change. "Faith and reason must walk hand in hand," he told Sarah during a quiet evening walk near the Tiber River. "Only then can we navigate the unknown with wisdom." As international pressure mounted, an emergency session of the United Nations convened to discuss global governance of neural enhancement technologies. Sarah covered the event live, reporting on the passionate speeches and intense negotiations. Countries struggled to reconcile national interests, ethical principles, and the imperative to protect human dignity. The conference underscored that Project Ascendant was not merely a scientific milestone but a catalyst for reimagining international cooperation and the boundaries of sovereignty. Throughout this period, Sarah grappled with the personal costs of her work. Threats, legal battles, and relentless scrutiny took their toll, straining her relationship with Emma and isolating her from much of her previous life. Yet, she remained grounded by the support of a few close allies and the conviction that her reporting mattered. She often reflected on the question that had driven her from the beginning: what's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? The answer, hope, continued to sustain her. One evening, Sarah received an invitation from the Vatican's new Ethics Oversight Committee to participate as an independent observer and advisor. The committee, formed in response to the mounting crisis, sought to include diverse voices in shaping future directions. Accepting the invitation, Sarah entered a new phase of engagement, moving from reporter to active participant in the unfolding story. At the committee's first meeting, she witnessed a remarkable convergence of perspectives. Scientists advocating for innovation, theologians emphasizing spiritual dimensions, ethicists pushing for justice and transparency, and policymakers focused on regulation. The dialogues were challenging but constructive, marked by mutual respect and a shared commitment to navigate the uncertain terrain with care. As months passed, Sarah's involvement deepened. She helped draft communication strategies to foster public understanding, advised on transparency measures, and encouraged inclusive dialogue. This role transformed her, expanding her sense of responsibility beyond journalism to stewardship of the story's impact. The committee's work culminated in the publication of the Rome Accord on Ethical Human Enhancement, a landmark document articulating principles such as respect for autonomy, equitable access, protection of mental integrity, and the primacy of human dignity. The accord was endorsed by a broad coalition of governments, religious institutions, scientific organizations, and civil society groups, signaling a hopeful step toward global consensus. As Sarah prepared a reflective essay on this journey, she contemplated the profound lessons she had learned. Project Ascendant was more than a technological venture, it was a mirror reflecting humanity's eternal quest to transcend limits while holding on to what makes life meaningful. The narrative had unfolded with drama, conflict, hope, and transformation. And through it all, Sarah had witnessed the enduring power of dialogue, courage, and the human spirit. Looking out at the sunset from her apartment balcony, Sarah felt a quiet satisfaction tempered by humility. The story was far from finished, but the foundations for a more thoughtful and compassionate future had been laid. She resolved to continue bearing witness, telling the stories that matter, and inspiring others to engage with the questions that would shape the destiny of humanity. And in that commitment, she found renewed strength and hope for the chapters yet to come. After the publication of the Rome Accord on Ethical Human Enhancement, a new wave of discussion swept across scientific communities, religious institutions, governments, and the public. Sarah's involvement with the Vatican's Ethics Oversight Committee had placed her at a unique crossroads between observer and participant, and she felt the weight of responsibility deeply. Her inbox flooded with messages, from hopeful scientists eager for guidance, concerned citizens wrestling with the implications, to activists demanding social justice in access to new technologies. The atmosphere was electric, filled with both optimism and unresolved tension. One morning, Sarah received an invitation to attend a confidential briefing at the European Space Agency headquarters in Paris. Elon Musk was scheduled to unveil a crucial development related to Project Ascendant's application beyond Earth. Sarah flew to Paris, her mind swirling with questions about the interplay between human enhancement and space exploration. At the briefing, Musk appeared energized and focused. He detailed plans for integrating neural enhancement technologies with astronaut training and mission support systems to prepare humans for long-duration space travel and colonization efforts. Musk spoke about the challenges of microgravity's effects on cognition and physiology, and how Project Ascendant's neural interfaces could mitigate those effects, enhance problem-solving capabilities, and even facilitate communication between crew members and AI systems. Sarah listened carefully as Musk described a prototype program launching soon, involving a select group of astronauts and volunteers undergoing neural augmentation. This step, Musk explained, was critical to ensuring human survival and adaptability in extraterrestrial environments. Yet, he acknowledged the ethical complexities involved, including informed consent, mental health risks, and the broader philosophical questions about what it means to be human in space. The briefing sparked intense debates among attending scientists and ethicists. Some hailed the initiative as a necessary leap toward humanity's future among the stars, while others warned against rushing into irreversible modifications without fully understanding the consequences. Sarah sensed that the next phase of Project Ascendant was about to redefine not only Earth-bound society but the very nature of human existence in the cosmos. Returning to Rome, Sarah continued her work with the Ethics Oversight Committee, now focusing on developing guidelines specifically addressing space-related neural enhancements. Discussions included the psychological impacts of isolation and confinement, the potential for cognitive overload, and the need for robust mental health support systems. Throughout this period, Sarah also maintained her investigative edge, tracking stories of grassroots movements both supporting and opposing these technological advances. In some communities, neural enhancement was embraced as a beacon of hope for overcoming disabilities and improving quality of life. In others, it was viewed with suspicion, seen as an unnatural intrusion or a dangerous step toward dehumanization. Sarah's reporting captured these diverse voices, revealing the social fault lines emerging in response to rapid technological change. Amidst these developments, Sarah's relationship with Emma deepened, though it remained challenged by the demands of Sarah's career. Emma, a passionate advocate for social equity, was concerned about the potential for neural enhancements to deepen existing inequalities. Their conversations often explored the tension between innovation and justice, personal ambition and collective well-being. These exchanges enriched Sarah's perspective and fueled her commitment to balanced storytelling. As Project Ascendant expanded its horizons, unexpected challenges arose. Reports surfaced of early test subjects experiencing unanticipated side effects, including emotional detachment, memory fragmentation, and, in rare cases, acute psychological crises. Musk's team responded by accelerating research into safety protocols, yet these incidents fueled public anxiety and calls for greater caution. The Vatican's Ethics Oversight Committee convened emergency sessions to assess the situation and recommend measures to protect participants and maintain public trust. Sarah attended these meetings, documenting the difficult balancing act between scientific urgency and ethical responsibility. The unfolding events underscored the unpredictable nature of innovation and the human costs involved. In the midst of this, Sarah was contacted by Dr. Elena Rossi, a neuroscientist leading a small independent research group investigating the long-term psychological effects of neural enhancements. Elena shared preliminary findings suggesting that the brain's plasticity could adapt positively over time but also warned of risks for individuals with pre-existing mental health conditions. The collaboration between Sarah and Elena yielded a series of in-depth interviews and analyses that added critical nuance to public understanding. Meanwhile, Sarah uncovered a confidential proposal circulating among some government officials advocating for mandatory neural enhancements for certain professions, including military personnel and emergency responders. This revelation triggered fierce debates about bodily autonomy, coercion, and the militarization of human augmentation. Sarah's exposé on the proposal ignited widespread protest and parliamentary inquiries. Throughout these turbulent times, Sarah remained grounded by the broader philosophical questions at the heart of her journey: how do we honor the sanctity of the human mind while embracing its potential to evolve? What frameworks can safeguard dignity, freedom, and compassion in an era of unprecedented change? These questions resonated deeply during a visit Sarah made to a remote monastery nestled in the Italian Alps, where monks practiced centuries-old traditions of meditation and contemplative silence. The monks welcomed Sarah warmly, offering perspectives that transcended technology and politics. The mind is a temple, the abbot told her. It must be treated with reverence and care, whatever changes it may undergo. The experience inspired Sarah to explore the spiritual dimensions of neural enhancement more deeply, integrating this wisdom into her writing and committee work. As the year drew to a close, Project Ascendant reached a critical milestone with the launch of the first augmented space mission. Sarah covered the event live, capturing the excitement and uncertainty of a moment that felt both historic and profoundly human. The astronauts, equipped with neural interfaces, embarked on their journey with hopes of advancing humanity's reach and knowledge. Yet the mission's success was just the beginning of a new chapter filled with unknowns. Reflecting on the path traveled, Sarah recognized that the story she was living and telling was not just about Elon Musk, the Vatican, or neural technology. It was about the enduring quest to understand ourselves, to confront the mysteries of consciousness and existence, and to shape a future where technology and humanity might coexist in harmony. As she prepared her next series of essays and broadcasts, Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose and clarity. The journey was far from over, but with each step came deeper insight and a growing community committed to thoughtful exploration. And so, with the dawn of a new era upon her, Sarah embraced the challenge and promise of a story still unfolding, aware that the questions she asked and the truths she uncovered could shape the destiny of generations yet to come. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? As Project Ascendant's space mission progressed, the world watched with bated breath, fascinated by the unprecedented fusion of human cognition and technology venturing beyond Earth's atmosphere. Sarah continued her coverage from multiple vantage points, broadcast studios, scientific forums, and virtual conferences, capturing the story's unfolding complexity. She was acutely aware that this mission symbolized more than exploration; it was a test of humanity's readiness to embrace a future shaped by neural enhancement, fraught with both promise and peril. In the quiet moments between deadlines, Sarah reflected on the astronauts' experiences as they relayed updates from orbit. The neural interfaces enabled remarkable feats, enhanced problem-solving under pressure, seamless communication, even shared emotional resonance among the crew. Yet, subtle hints of strain emerged, disorientation, moments of emotional detachment, and the weight of psychological isolation amplified by the neural augmentation. These nuances fascinated Sarah, revealing the fragile interplay between technology and human nature. Back on Earth, debates intensified. Some hailed the mission as a triumph of human ingenuity, proof that enhanced cognition could unlock new frontiers. Others warned that the astronauts were pioneers on a razor's edge, risking their minds in ways science had yet to fully understand. Ethical questions surfaced anew about the boundaries of human modification and the responsibilities owed to those who undertook such risks. Sarah interviewed Dr. Miguel Torres, who had been monitoring the mission's psychological data. Miguel explained how the brain's plasticity was both a blessing and a challenge. The neural interface is like a new organ, he said. It requires careful calibration, support, and time to integrate. Without that, the mind can fragment, leading to serious consequences. His insights underscored the need for ongoing research and compassionate care. In parallel, grassroots movements advocating for universal access to neural enhancements gained momentum. Activists argued that these technologies should not be privileges of the elite or military but tools for uplifting all of humanity, especially marginalized communities. Sarah documented protests, community forums, and policy debates reflecting this urgent demand for equity and justice. Emma, passionate as ever, was deeply involved, pushing Sarah to examine the societal implications beyond the headlines. Their partnership flourished amid these challenges, with conversations that delved into the meaning of progress and the ethical stewardship required. Meanwhile, the Vatican's role continued to evolve. A new document, The Spirit and the Mind, Guidelines for Ethical Enhancement, was released, emphasizing spiritual reflection alongside scientific innovation. It called for respect of human dignity, the primacy of conscience, and the importance of nurturing the soul amid technological transformation. Sarah saw this as a significant bridge between tradition and modernity, a beacon for navigating the moral complexities of the era. As the astronauts' mission neared completion, an unexpected crisis struck. One crew member began exhibiting severe cognitive and emotional disturbances, symptoms that baffled scientists and alarmed officials. The incident triggered an emergency response, with rapid diagnostics and remote interventions to stabilize the astronaut's condition. The event reignited fears about the neural interface's safety and limitations, sparking intense media coverage and public concern. Sarah reported from the front lines, conveying both the scientific urgency and the human drama. She interviewed family members, mental health experts, and mission control personnel, weaving a narrative that highlighted the fragile humanity behind the technology. This episode became a pivotal moment in the story, forcing a reckoning with the real costs of pushing the boundaries of human capability. In the aftermath, the Ethics Oversight Committee convened to reassess protocols, emphasizing transparency, mental health safeguards, and participant autonomy. Sarah's presence at these sessions brought journalistic rigor and empathy to the discussions, helping shape recommendations that balanced innovation with care. She also traveled to meet the astronauts' family, hearing firsthand about their fears, hopes, and the resilience that sustained them. These encounters deepened Sarah's understanding of the profound personal dimensions of scientific advancement. At the same time, Sarah was invited to a historic interfaith summit held in the Vatican Gardens, bringing together leaders from diverse spiritual traditions to discuss the implications of neural enhancement for human identity and morality. The gathering was unprecedented in scope and spirit, marked by respectful dialogue and shared reflection. Sarah was struck by the convergence of perspectives emphasizing humility, stewardship, and the sacredness of the mind and soul. These conversations inspired her to explore the spiritual questions intertwined with technological progress, enriching her reporting with layers of meaning that resonated across cultures and beliefs. As the astronauts safely returned to Earth, Sarah was on hand to document the homecoming, an event celebrated with awe and relief. The mission's successes and challenges were acknowledged openly, setting a precedent for future ventures and a deeper commitment to ethical practice. The astronauts themselves spoke candidly about their experiences, blending wonder with caution, ambition with humility. Sarah's interviews captured the complexity of their journey, humanizing the pioneers who had carried humanity into a new frontier. In the months that followed, Project Ascendant expanded beyond space, exploring applications in medicine, education, and rehabilitation. Sarah continued to follow these developments, mindful of the lessons learned and the ongoing debates about accessibility, consent, and societal impact. Her writing emphasized the need for vigilance, compassion, and inclusive dialogue as neural enhancement technologies became woven into the fabric of everyday life. Through it all, Sarah's voice remained a beacon of thoughtful inquiry and ethical reflection. She embraced the evolving narrative, committed to telling the stories that revealed the courage, complexity, and hope inherent in humanity's quest to transcend limits while honoring its essence. Looking ahead, Sarah knew that the journey would continue to unfold with surprises, challenges, and profound questions. Yet she faced the future with determination, inspired by the belief that through honesty, dialogue, and empathy, society could navigate the uncharted terrain of neural enhancement with wisdom and heart. And in that belief, she found both purpose and hope, ready to write the next chapter of a story that was truly just beginning. The days following the astronauts' return brought an intense wave of reflection and analysis across every corner of the globe. Sarah found herself attending countless panels, roundtables, and closed-door sessions where the implications of Project Ascendant were dissected with a mix of awe, skepticism, and urgency. What struck her most was the shifting nature of the conversation. It had moved from purely technical achievements to profound questions about identity, autonomy, and the very essence of humanity. At a symposium held in New York City, Sarah met Dr. Aisha Thompson, a leading philosopher specializing in bioethics and human augmentation. Aisha's insights resonated deeply with Sarah's own evolving understanding. "We stand at a crossroads," Aisha said, "where the traditional boundaries between human and machine blur. It's no longer about what technology can do, but about what it should do, and what it means for our shared humanity." Their dialogue became a cornerstone for Sarah's next series of essays, weaving philosophical depth into the unfolding narrative. Meanwhile, the social and political landscapes reacted in unpredictable ways. Governments debated policies to regulate neural enhancements, ranging from protective measures to incentivizing innovation. Activists raised powerful voices demanding that ethical frameworks prioritize social justice and prevent the emergence of a cognitive elite. Public opinion polls showed a population divided, some eager to embrace the future, others fearful of losing control over their minds and lives. Sarah reported on grassroots initiatives aiming to democratize access to enhancement technologies, including community centers offering education and affordable neural health services. She highlighted stories of individuals whose lives were transformed by these advances, juxtaposed with cautionary tales of exploitation and inequality. One particularly compelling story came from a small town in Ohio, where a local nonprofit had partnered with medical researchers to provide neural enhancement therapies to veterans suffering from PTSD and brain injuries. The success of the program offered hope that the technology could heal and empower, not just augment or control. Yet, even amid these hopeful signs, Sarah could not ignore the darker undercurrents. Whispers of black market neural implants and unregulated procedures circulated in shadowy corners of the internet. Stories emerged of individuals experiencing devastating side effects after undergoing illicit enhancements. Law enforcement agencies struggled to keep pace with the rapid proliferation of these underground networks. Sarah's investigative instincts led her to expose some of these illicit operations, shining a light on the urgent need for comprehensive regulation and international cooperation. Through these investigations, Sarah deepened her collaboration with international agencies and human rights organizations, working to ensure that the story of neural enhancement remained grounded in the realities of human dignity and safety. On the personal front, Sarah's partnership with Emma continued to be a source of both strength and challenge. Their shared passion for social justice and ethical responsibility created a powerful bond, but the demands of their work sometimes pulled them in different directions. Their conversations often circled back to fundamental questions: how do we balance innovation with equity? How do we ensure that the benefits of new technologies are shared, not hoarded? These dialogues enriched Sarah's perspective and added urgency to her reporting. In a surprising turn, Elon Musk himself reached out to Sarah, requesting a private conversation. The meeting took place in a quiet room at Tesla's Palo Alto headquarters. Musk, always candid, spoke about the pressures and dilemmas he faced navigating technological ambition and public scrutiny. "We're on the edge of something incredible," he said, "but I know it's not without risks. That's why voices like yours are vital, to keep us honest, to remind us of what truly matters." The exchange was intense and thought-provoking, deepening Sarah's understanding of the complexities driving the project and the man at its center. As the year progressed, Sarah found herself increasingly drawn to the spiritual and philosophical dimensions of neural enhancement. Inspired by earlier conversations with Vatican leaders and monks, she embarked on a personal journey exploring meditation, mindfulness, and the intersection of technology and spirituality. This exploration enriched her writing and public engagements, encouraging a holistic perspective on the future of human augmentation. In one notable public lecture at Harvard Divinity School, Sarah presented a compelling synthesis of scientific innovation, ethical reflection, and spiritual insight. The event sparked lively discussion and opened new avenues for interdisciplinary collaboration. Sarah's message was clear. Neural enhancement is not just a technological challenge but a profound human question requiring wisdom, compassion, and humility. Towards the end of the year, Sarah attended a global summit in Geneva focused on establishing international standards for neural technologies. The summit brought together scientists, ethicists, religious leaders, policymakers, and representatives from affected communities. Sarah reported on the spirited debates and tentative agreements that emerged, highlighting the unprecedented effort to build consensus across diverse worldviews. The summit culminated in a declaration affirming principles of respect, justice, transparency, and shared responsibility. It was a hopeful step forward, though Sarah knew that real change required ongoing vigilance and engagement. Reflecting on the journey from the Vatican visit that had sparked her investigation to this moment, Sarah felt a deep sense of fulfillment and commitment. The story had grown beyond headlines and controversies into a living dialogue about what it means to be human in an age of rapid transformation. She understood that her role was not only to report facts but to foster understanding, empathy, and critical inquiry. As snow gently fell outside her window one evening, Sarah drafted the opening lines of her next book, capturing the essence of a story still unfolding. In a world where minds can be enhanced, hearts must remain humble. The future belongs not just to those who innovate, but to those who remember the soul's enduring call. With these words, Sarah embraced the unknown with courage and hope, ready to continue bearing witness to the unfolding story of humanity's most daring adventure yet. The momentum behind neural enhancement technologies was accelerating, but with it came increasingly complex challenges that extended far beyond the laboratory or the Vatican's carefully crafted ethics guidelines. Sarah found herself navigating a landscape where every advancement was entangled with social, political, and deeply personal consequences. The conversations she engaged in became increasingly nuanced, exploring not just the capabilities of the technology but the responsibilities of those who wielded it. A pivotal moment came when Sarah was invited to a think tank convened by the United Nations in Geneva. The focus was on the implications of neural enhancements for global security and human rights. Delegates from dozens of countries debated issues such as cognitive inequality, surveillance risks, and the possibility of neural warfare, a chilling concept where enhanced minds could be weaponized. Sarah witnessed passionate arguments, from calls for a global ban on certain types of neural modification to proposals for international cooperation frameworks to regulate the field responsibly. The tension between innovation and control permeated the discussions. After the sessions, Sarah spoke with Ambassador Claire Reynolds from Canada, who expressed a cautious optimism. "We must not stifle progress," Claire said, "but we have a duty to ensure that this progress respects human dignity and fosters peace." Sarah's report highlighted the delicate balance between technological promise and ethical vigilance, a theme that resonated with audiences worldwide. Meanwhile, in the United States, political debates over neural enhancements took center stage. Legislators grappled with questions about healthcare access, privacy protections, and funding for public research. The emerging threat of corporate monopolies over neural technologies fueled fears of a new kind of inequality, one where mental capabilities could be bought and sold like commodities. Sarah's investigative journalism uncovered lobbying efforts by major tech companies pushing for deregulation and patents that could limit competition. Her exposés sparked public outcry and prompted congressional hearings, amplifying calls for transparency and consumer protections. On the grassroots level, community organizations across the country mobilized to educate citizens about neural enhancements, their benefits, and their risks. Sarah traveled to Detroit to visit a neighborhood center offering workshops on digital literacy and cognitive health, including discussions about emerging neural technologies. She met residents who were both hopeful and wary, eager to explore new possibilities but concerned about affordability and ethical oversight. These stories grounded Sarah's reporting in real-world experiences, emphasizing the human dimension of technological change. At the same time, Sarah's relationship with Emma evolved in unexpected ways. Their shared dedication to social justice and ethical inquiry deepened their bond, even as the pressures of their work sometimes threatened to pull them apart. Emma's activism increasingly focused on advocating for marginalized communities impacted by technological inequities, pushing Sarah to explore these intersections more fully in her work. Their conversations became a crucible of ideas and emotions, fueling Sarah's growth as both a journalist and a person. Back in the realm of science and technology, Project Ascendant announced a bold new initiative, integrating artificial intelligence with neural enhancement to create hybrid cognitive systems capable of collaborative problem-solving between humans and machines. The announcement sparked excitement and controversy in equal measure. Critics warned about the dangers of eroding human autonomy and the risks of AI-driven manipulation, while proponents argued it was a natural evolution of human intelligence and creativity. Sarah interviewed Dr. Li Wei, a leading AI researcher involved in the project. Li spoke passionately about the potential to tackle global challenges, from climate change to disease, through enhanced collective cognition. The future, Li said, belongs to those who can think together across biological and digital boundaries. This vision inspired Sarah to explore the philosophical and ethical frontiers of merging human minds with artificial intelligence, a topic she soon made central to her storytelling. Meanwhile, the Vatican released a follow-up document titled Guardians of the Mind and Spirit, addressing the integration of AI and neural enhancement within a spiritual and ethical framework. The document emphasized the importance of maintaining human freedom, recognizing the soul's unique place in the cosmos, and exercising humility in the face of unknown consequences. Sarah attended a Vatican conference unveiling the document, where she observed lively debates among theologians, scientists, and ethicists. The discussions revealed both hope and caution, underscoring the ongoing struggle to reconcile faith and technology. Throughout these developments, Sarah remained committed to her mission of thoughtful inquiry and storytelling. She traveled extensively, from Silicon Valley to rural Appalachia, from academic halls to community centers, capturing diverse perspectives on the neural enhancement revolution. Her writing wove together scientific breakthroughs, ethical dilemmas, personal stories, and spiritual reflections, creating a tapestry that illuminated the multifaceted nature of the journey. As the year closed, Sarah prepared for a major retrospective series, reflecting on the 10 years since Elon Musk's landmark Vatican visit that had ignited so much change. She recognized the profound transformations that had occurred, not only in technology but in society's understanding of what it meant to be human. The story was far from over, but the path forward was clearer, a path marked by vigilance, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to the dignity of every mind and soul. In this understanding, Sarah found renewed purpose and hope, ready to continue chronicling a story that was as much about humanity's future as it was about its enduring essence. The global dialogue around neural enhancement reached a new crescendo as the technology edged closer to mainstream adoption. Sarah's reporting increasingly focused on the ripple effects in everyday life, from classrooms experimenting with cognitive boosts to workplaces integrating enhanced collaboration tools. The promise of expanded human potential was intoxicating, yet the complexities and contradictions grew more apparent. In Boston, Sarah visited a public high school piloting neural interface devices designed to aid learning for students with disabilities. She observed students using the technology to improve memory retention, focus, and communication. Teachers shared hopeful stories of breakthroughs and challenges, while students spoke candidly about the pressure to keep up in an environment transformed by augmentation. These personal accounts revealed a mosaic of excitement and anxiety, illuminating the nuanced realities of early adoption. At the same time, legal battles emerged over privacy and data ownership. Neural devices generated vast amounts of personal cognitive data, sparking fierce debates about consent and surveillance. Sarah covered courtroom scenes where plaintiffs challenged corporations over unauthorized use of neural data. Privacy advocates warned that without stringent protections, neural enhancements could become tools for manipulation and control, eroding fundamental freedoms. Sarah's investigative work brought these critical issues to public attention, fueling advocacy efforts and policy discussions. Meanwhile, in the cultural realm, artists and writers grappled with the impact of neural technology on creativity and identity. Sarah attended an exhibition in Los Angeles featuring works created through neural interfaces. Paintings, music, and literature that blurred the lines between human and machine expression. Interviews with creators revealed a spectrum of experiences. Some felt liberated by the expanded capabilities, others wrestled with questions about authenticity and the nature of inspiration. Sarah explored these themes in essays that connected technology with the timeless human quest for meaning. In parallel, the Vatican's engagement with neural technology continued to deepen. Sarah reported on a series of spiritual retreats held at the Vatican, where participants practiced meditation alongside discussions about ethical enhancement. These retreats aimed to cultivate inner wisdom and balance amid rapid external change. Interviews with clergy and laypeople highlighted the enduring importance of spiritual grounding in a world transformed by technology. Sarah found these stories deeply moving, adding a layer of humanity and hope to the broader narrative. On the geopolitical stage, neural enhancement technologies became points of tension and competition. Sarah covered diplomatic negotiations aimed at establishing treaties to prevent the weaponization of neural technologies. Reports emerged of clandestine programs exploring neural warfare capabilities, heightening global anxieties. Sarah's investigative reporting revealed the shadowy intersections of technology, security, and ethics, underscoring the urgency of international cooperation. Amid these global complexities, Sarah's relationship with Emma remained a source of personal strength and intellectual stimulation. They continued to challenge and support each other, navigating the emotional toll of their work while nurturing a shared vision for a just and compassionate future. Their partnership embodied the intertwined nature of personal and societal transformation. Toward the end of the year, Sarah received an invitation to speak at the World Economic Forum in Davos. Her keynote address focused on the ethical stewardship of neural technologies, calling for inclusive dialogue, transparency, and a commitment to human dignity. The speech was widely covered, sparking renewed global conversations about the future of enhancement. Sarah's voice emerged as a leading beacon of thoughtful engagement. Reflecting on the journey from the initial spark of curiosity sparked by Elon Musk's Vatican visit, Sarah felt a profound sense of responsibility and hope. The story was far from finished, but the path ahead was illuminated by the collective efforts of scientists, ethicists, spiritual leaders, activists, and everyday people striving to shape a future where technology served humanity's highest aspirations. In this ongoing story, Sarah found her purpose: to bear witness, to question, and to inspire. As neural enhancement technologies increasingly permeated everyday life, new ethical quandaries emerged that challenged established norms and laws. Sarah found herself at the heart of a rapidly evolving debate about consent and autonomy, especially concerning vulnerable populations. In Los Angeles, she met with Dr. Priya Desai, a bioethicist who specialized in informed consent for emerging technologies. Priya emphasized how traditional models were ill-equipped to address the complexity of neural augmentation. When you're modifying the brain, Priya explained, the lines between self and enhancement blur. Consent isn't just about agreeing to a procedure, it's about understanding how your identity might change. Sarah was struck by the depth of this insight and integrated it into her reporting, highlighting the urgent need for new frameworks that honored personal agency in an unprecedented context. At a rehabilitation center in Chicago, Sarah documented the experiences of patients using neural enhancements to recover from traumatic brain injuries. Many credited the technology with restoring abilities they feared lost forever, but some expressed anxiety over shifts in personality and cognition. One patient, Michael, shared, "I'm grateful, but sometimes I wonder if the person I was is still inside somewhere." These poignant reflections underscored the profound psychological and philosophical implications of enhancement beyond physical repair. Meanwhile, in the corporate world, a major scandal erupted involving a tech giant accused of pressuring employees to undergo optional neural enhancements to boost productivity. Whistleblowers revealed that subtle coercion and surveillance had blurred the line between voluntary participation and workplace obligation. Sarah's investigative reporting on this controversy sparked widespread outrage and calls for stronger labor protections. The story became a catalyst for broader conversations about ethics in the workplace and the limits of enhancement. The media landscape itself was transforming under the influence of neural technologies. Sarah noted how news consumption patterns shifted as audiences accessed information through enhanced cognitive filters, raising questions about bias, manipulation, and the nature of truth. She engaged with media theorists who warned that without critical oversight, neural filters could create echo chambers that intensified polarization. Sarah's writing explored the challenges of maintaining journalistic integrity and fostering informed public discourse in a world of cognitive augmentation. In the spiritual community, debates intensified over the meaning of consciousness and the soul in the age of neural enhancement. Sarah attended a panel at a Buddhist monastery in Vermont where scholars and practitioners discussed whether enhanced cognition altered the path to enlightenment. Some argued that technology could be a tool for deeper insight, while others cautioned against reliance on external aids that might distract from inner growth. These nuanced perspectives enriched Sarah's exploration of spirituality and technology, highlighting the diversity of human responses to profound change. On a personal note, Sarah's relationship with Emma reached a turning point. The pressures of their work and differing visions for activism led to moments of tension, but ultimately strengthened their bond. They navigated disagreements with honesty and compassion, reflecting the complexities of sustaining connection amid external upheaval. Their journey became a microcosm of the broader societal challenges Sarah chronicled. Globally, governments began implementing pilot programs to regulate neural enhancements, balancing innovation with oversight. Sarah covered initiatives in Scandinavia focused on community engagement and ethical education, contrasting them with more market-driven approaches in other regions. Her comparative reporting illuminated how cultural values shaped policy responses, emphasizing the importance of context in governance. Toward the end of the chapter, Sarah prepared a documentary series examining the human stories behind the headlines, individuals whose lives were transformed, complicated, or challenged by neural enhancements. Through intimate interviews and immersive storytelling, she aimed to give voice to the nuanced realities of living at the intersection of humanity and technology. As she reflected on the journey so far, Sarah recognized that the story of neural enhancement was not just about science or ethics, it was about the evolving human experience itself. Her role as a storyteller became ever more vital in bridging understanding, fostering empathy, and inspiring thoughtful action as society navigated this brave new frontier. The societal fabric was stretching in new and unexpected ways as neural enhancements transitioned from cutting-edge experiments to everyday tools. Sarah traveled to Seattle to meet with educators pioneering neural augmentation programs in public schools, aimed at leveling the playing field for students from diverse backgrounds. She was struck by the enthusiasm of teachers like Marcus, who believed these tools could unlock potential long hindered by systemic inequalities. Yet, the optimism was tempered by concerns about access and consent. Parents and community leaders voiced fears that children might be pushed into enhancements prematurely or without full understanding. Sarah documented these tensions, painting a vivid picture of the hopes and challenges faced by educators and families striving for equity in an enhanced world. Across the Atlantic, Sarah attended a symposium in Berlin on the ethics of neural enhancement in aging populations. As life expectancy increased globally, the potential for cognitive enhancements to combat age-related decline attracted growing interest. Yet, ethical questions loomed large. Would such technologies become privileges of the wealthy elderly, exacerbating generational divides? How would societies value enhanced longevity against quality of life? Interviews with gerontologists and ethicists revealed a field grappling with profound dilemmas. Sarah's reporting underscored the need for inclusive policies that balanced innovation with social justice. Meanwhile, neural enhancements began reshaping creative industries. In New York City, Sarah explored how performers and artists integrated neural interfaces to expand sensory experiences and emotional expression. She attended a concert where musicians used neural feedback to improvise in real time, blurring lines between composer, performer, and audience. The event was electrifying, a glimpse into a future where human creativity merged seamlessly with technology. Yet, questions remained about authenticity and the role of human spontaneity in art. Sarah's articles captured the exhilaration and unease of this evolving cultural landscape. In the political arena, debates over cognitive liberty intensified. Sarah reported on legislative efforts to enshrine the right to mental privacy and freedom from compulsory enhancement. Advocates argued that protecting the sanctity of the mind was essential to preserving democracy itself. Opponents raised concerns about security and competitiveness. These debates played out globally, with varying approaches reflecting diverse political and cultural values. Sarah's analysis highlighted the complexity of balancing individual rights with collective interests in an interconnected world. Spiritual leaders continued to engage deeply with neural technologies, offering guidance on integrating enhancements with inner development. Sarah attended a retreat led by a Sufi mystic in Morocco, where participants practiced meditation alongside discussions about maintaining spiritual authenticity amid technological change. The experience enriched Sarah's understanding of the universal quest for meaning that transcends cultural and technological boundaries. On a personal level, Sarah and Emma embarked on a joint project, a podcast exploring the human stories behind neural enhancement, blending investigative journalism with intimate conversations. The podcast quickly gained a following, resonating with listeners hungry for thoughtful dialogue about the future. Through this creative collaboration, Sarah and Emma deepened their connection, finding renewed energy and purpose. As the year progressed, Sarah's investigations uncovered troubling cases of neural enhancement misuse in criminal justice systems, where cognitive alterations were used coercively or without proper oversight. She reported on activists fighting to ensure that enhancement technologies did not become tools of oppression or discrimination. These stories added urgency to the call for robust ethical standards and human rights protections. Reflecting on the decade since Elon Musk's Vatican visit, Sarah realized how much the world had transformed, and yet how much remained uncertain. The story of neural enhancement was a living, evolving narrative shaped by countless voices and choices. In her writing, Sarah emphasized that the future depended not just on technological breakthroughs, but on the values and wisdom guiding their use. With this awareness, she committed to continuing her role as a storyteller, bridge builder, an advocate for a future where humanity's highest ideals could flourish alongside its greatest innovations. The implications of neural enhancement stretched into the very core of human identity, sparking debates that transcended science and technology to question what it truly meant to be human. Sarah found herself drawn deeper into philosophical and existential discussions, meeting thinkers and scholars from diverse fields. In Cambridge, Massachusetts, she attended a conference titled The Future of Self, where philosophers, neuroscientists, and theologians explored how cognitive enhancement might reshape notions of consciousness, free will, and personal identity. The dialogues were intense and sometimes contradictory. Some argued that enhanced cognition expanded the self's potential, while others warned it could fragment or dilute the essence of individuality. Sarah documented these debates, capturing the rich complexity and deep uncertainty that surrounded humanity's evolving self-understanding. Back in her home city, Sarah connected with a group of neuroartists who used their own enhanced cognitive states to create immersive experiences that challenged perceptions of reality and selfhood. One artist, Julian, explained how neural interfaces allowed him to externalize his inner emotional landscapes in ways that words never could. Sarah immersed herself in these creations, sensing that art was becoming a crucial medium for grappling with the intangible shifts wrought by technology. The interplay of mind, machine, and meaning fascinated her and became a recurring theme in her work. Meanwhile, at the Vatican, discussions around neural enhancement continued to emphasize the spiritual dimensions of human transformation. Sarah interviewed Cardinal Angelo, who spoke of the need to honor the soul's sanctity while embracing responsible innovation. Technology, Angelo said, must serve the fullness of human dignity, not diminish it. This balance between faith and progress, ancient wisdom and modern science, became a compelling thread woven through Sarah's narratives. On a global scale, economic disparities in access to neural enhancements ignited new social movements. Sarah reported on protests in Johannesburg where activists demanded fair distribution of cognitive technologies, warning against the creation of a neuro-elite that could entrench existing inequalities. These movements sparked conversations about social justice, solidarity, and the ethical allocation of transformative technologies. Sarah's coverage highlighted the urgent need for inclusive policies that addressed the global dimensions of enhancement. In government circles, Sarah followed policy debates that sought to balance innovation incentives with regulation designed to prevent abuse and discrimination. She interviewed policymakers in Washington, D.C., who grappled with competing pressures from industry, civil society, and international partners. The challenges were immense, requiring unprecedented cooperation and foresight. Sarah's analysis illuminated the intricate dance between power, ethics, and technology shaping the future. At a more personal level, Sarah's relationship with Emma grew even more profound, rooted in shared struggles and triumphs. Their partnership became a source of resilience amid the whirlwind of change, illustrating the enduring power of human connection in an age of transformation. Together, they envisioned new ways to engage communities in shaping the trajectory of neural enhancement technologies. As Sarah prepared a special series reflecting on the past decade's journey, she revisited the initial spark, Elon Musk's Vatican visit, and the questions it had raised about faith, technology, and the future. The narrative had expanded far beyond that moment, encompassing countless stories of hope, challenge, and discovery. Sarah's storytelling embraced this complexity, inviting audiences to consider not just what technology could do, but what humanity should become. In this unfolding story, Sarah found both purpose and humility, recognizing that the path forward would require wisdom, courage, and compassion from all who dared to imagine the future. With neural enhancement technologies becoming ever more integrated into society, questions about governance and ethical stewardship took center stage. Sarah traveled to Geneva to cover a landmark summit convened by the United Nations, where representatives from over 100 countries gathered to negotiate an international treaty on neural technology regulation. The stakes were high. Without global cooperation, the risk of misuse, inequality, and conflict loomed large. Delegates debated fiercely over issues like cognitive privacy, equitable access, and the potential for neural weaponization. Sarah observed the complex dynamics between developed and developing nations, as wealthier countries sought to protect intellectual property rights while poorer nations demanded fair technology transfer and safeguards against exploitation. The negotiations were arduous and at times contentious, yet moments of hope emerged when shared values and common humanity broke through political divides. Sarah's on-the-ground reporting captured the tension and optimism, illustrating the difficult but necessary path toward collective responsibility. Back in the United States, legislative efforts gained momentum as lawmakers introduced bills aimed at protecting citizens from coercive enhancement practices and ensuring transparency from tech companies. Sarah covered passionate hearings where activists, scientists, and corporate representatives clashed over the scope and enforcement of regulations. The debate highlighted a broader societal reckoning with how to balance innovation with individual rights and social justice. In parallel, Sarah investigated emerging grassroots movements advocating for neural literacy, seeking to educate the public about the risks and benefits of cognitive enhancements. She visited community centers in Detroit and New Orleans where workshops taught people how to critically evaluate neural technology claims and protect their mental autonomy. These initiatives underscored a growing demand for empowerment and informed choice amid rapid technological change. Meanwhile, cultural institutions began grappling with the impact of neural enhancements on human expression and creativity. Sarah attended a panel discussion at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City where artists and curators debated whether enhanced cognition altered the nature of artistic authenticity. Some celebrated the expanded creative possibilities, while others worried about the erosion of a uniquely human spark. Sarah explored these tensions in essays that connected technology with the evolving definitions of art and identity. At the Vatican, discussions around neural enhancements continued to emphasize spiritual guidance and moral reflection. Sarah reported on a new document released by the Pontifical Academy for Life, which called for a culture of responsibility that honored human dignity and the sacredness of the mind. The document encouraged dialogue across disciplines and cultures, reinforcing the Vatican's role as a moral compass amid technological upheaval. Sarah found these perspectives enriching, adding depth and nuance to her storytelling. On a personal note, Sarah and Emma launched a collaborative project, a digital platform designed to foster inclusive conversations about neural technology's future. The platform combined multimedia storytelling, expert panels, and interactive forums, drawing a diverse global audience. Their work exemplified the power of collaboration and community in shaping technology's trajectory. As the year drew to a close, Sarah reflected on the journey since Elon Musk's provocative Vatican visit. The event had sparked not just technological innovation, but a profound re-examination of humanity's relationship with technology, faith, and each other. The story was ongoing, marked by challenges and breakthroughs, fears and hopes. Sarah's role as a storyteller remained vital, to illuminate, question, and inspire thoughtful engagement with the unfolding future of neural enhancement. The advent of widespread neural enhancement technologies brought about shifts in everyday social dynamics that were both subtle and profound. Sarah traveled to Austin, Texas, where she immersed herself in the local tech community exploring how enhancements were reshaping interpersonal relationships. In a cozy cafe, she spoke with young professionals like Maya and Lucas, who described how neural interfaces enhanced empathy and communication in their friendships and romantic partnerships. "It's like tuning into each other's feelings in real time," Maya said, "but sometimes it's overwhelming when emotions are too intense." Sarah listened as they shared stories of deepened connections alongside new challenges of emotional boundaries and privacy. These intimate narratives highlighted how technology was changing not just cognition but the very fabric of human connection. Meanwhile, in suburban communities outside Chicago, Sarah investigated how families navigated decisions around neural enhancements for children. Parents wrestled with hopes of providing opportunities and fears of imposing pressures or altering natural development. Support groups and ethical counseling services emerged to help families make informed choices, reflecting society's attempt to balance progress with care. Sarah's reporting painted a vivid picture of the delicate negotiations taking place in homes and hearts across the country. In the realm of education, neural enhancement tools were transforming classrooms but also raising equity concerns. Sarah visited a public school in Philadelphia where administrators worked to provide access to enhancements for all students, regardless of socioeconomic background. The initiative was praised as a step toward closing achievement gaps but also faced skepticism about unintended consequences. Teachers described both enthusiasm and fatigue as they adapted to new pedagogies integrating enhanced cognition. Sarah's articles highlighted the complexity of educational transformation amid rapid technological change. Globally, Sarah covered the rise of neural enhancement hubs in emerging economies. In Nairobi, she met entrepreneurs developing affordable cognitive augmentation devices tailored to local needs. These innovators sought to democratize technology access and foster economic empowerment, challenging narratives that enhancements were solely tools of elite privilege. Sarah's reporting brought fresh perspectives on global innovation ecosystems and the importance of culturally sensitive technology development. At the Vatican, interfaith dialogues on neural enhancement expanded to include leaders from Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, and indigenous spiritual traditions. Sarah attended a historic summit where faith leaders explored shared values and ethical principles guiding technological integration. The conversations underscored the universal human quest for meaning and the imperative to ground innovation in compassion and respect for life. Sarah's coverage celebrated this pluralistic approach as a beacon of hope in a polarized world. In the political sphere, Sarah reported on citizen-led initiatives advocating for mental health protections amid neural enhancement proliferation. Activists called for comprehensive safeguards addressing potential psychological side effects and societal pressures. Their efforts influenced policy discussions and raised public awareness about the mental health dimensions of cognitive technology. Sarah's investigative work underscored the interconnectedness of technological and human well-being. On a personal front, Sarah and Emma continued to navigate their evolving partnership with openness and care. Together, they faced the challenges of public life and private growth, embodying the complexities of human connection in a transformed world. Their journey inspired Sarah's storytelling, adding layers of authenticity and heart. As Sarah prepared to deliver a keynote at a major international conference on neural enhancement and society, she reflected on the themes weaving through her work: connection, ethics, equity, and hope. The story that began with Elon Musk's Vatican visit had grown into a multifaceted exploration of humanity's future. Sarah's voice, informed by empathy and insight, served as a vital bridge linking technology with the human spirit. Sarah's keynote speech at the Global Neural Enhancement Summit in San Francisco was a defining moment, encapsulating years of her reporting and personal reflections. The auditorium buzzed with anticipation as she stepped to the podium, greeted by a diverse audience of scientists, ethicists, policymakers, artists, and activists. She opened with a provocative question: what does it mean to be human in a world where our minds can be enhanced, our memories augmented, and our perceptions expanded beyond natural limits? The question resonated deeply, setting the tone for an exploration that was at once hopeful and cautionary. Sarah recounted stories she had gathered over the past decade: the joys of restored abilities, the ethical dilemmas faced by families, the cultural shifts in creativity and connection. She emphasized the need for a framework grounded in respect for autonomy, justice, and the sacredness of mental privacy. Drawing from her interviews with faith leaders and philosophers, Sarah urged the audience to consider enhancement not merely as a technological challenge but as a profound human journey. Her words underscored the importance of humility and wisdom in guiding innovation. Following the keynote, Sarah engaged in a panel discussion on policy and governance, highlighting the recent international treaty efforts and the critical role of global cooperation. She stressed that no single nation or corporation could shape the future alone and that inclusive dialogue was essential to navigate the complex ethical terrain. The session sparked vibrant debate, with participants sharing diverse perspectives and committing to ongoing collaboration. Outside the conference, Sarah met with grassroots organizers advocating for equitable access and mental health protections. Their passion and resilience reinforced her belief in the power of collective action to shape technology's path. Inspired by these encounters, Sarah announced a new initiative, a global storytelling project to amplify marginalized voices in the neural enhancement conversation, ensuring that those most affected could share their experiences and insights. The announcement was met with enthusiasm and signaled a new chapter in Sarah's mission. Later that evening, Sarah and Emma attended a cultural event celebrating the fusion of art and neural technology. The performances blended enhanced sensory experiences with traditional storytelling, creating a rich tapestry of old and new. Sarah marveled at how technology could deepen connection to heritage while opening doors to innovative expression. This blend of continuity and change became a central theme in her reflections. As the summit concluded, Sarah took time to explore San Francisco's vibrant neighborhoods, engaging with local communities grappling with the realities of technological transformation. She documented stories of resilience, adaptation, and hope, reinforcing the message that the future would be shaped by diverse human experiences. Returning home, Sarah began drafting a comprehensive memoir and analytical work that wove together the decade's threads. From Elon Musk's Vatican visit to the current landscape. The project aimed to provide not only historical context but also a roadmap for ethical innovation. Throughout the process, Sarah remained mindful of the ongoing nature of the story. Neural enhancement was not a destination but a continually evolving frontier, demanding vigilance, compassion, and creativity. In quiet moments, Sarah reflected on the personal journey entwined with her professional path, the growth, challenges, and deepening relationships that had shaped her understanding of humanity and technology. The story she told was ultimately one of interconnectedness, between minds, cultures, values, and futures. Sarah's voice stood as a testament to the enduring quest to harmonize progress with meaning in a rapidly changing world. The momentum generated by the Global Neural Enhancement Summit propelled Sarah into new opportunities to influence public discourse and policy on neural technologies. She was invited to testify before the U.S. Congress on the societal impacts of cognitive enhancements. In the hearing room, Sarah presented detailed findings drawn from years of research and interviews, emphasizing the need for regulations that protect mental autonomy, prevent discrimination, and ensure equitable access. Lawmakers listened intently as she recounted stories of individuals whose lives had been transformed positively and others who faced coercion or exclusion. Sarah's testimony sparked vigorous debate and increased bipartisan support for comprehensive neural enhancement legislation. Beyond the halls of power, Sarah continued to amplify grassroots voices advocating for ethical stewardship of neural technologies. She traveled to rural Appalachia, where communities expressed skepticism and concern about the rapid pace of innovation. Sarah documented their perspectives with sensitivity, highlighting fears of cultural erosion and economic marginalization. In response, she helped facilitate dialogues between technology developers and local leaders, fostering mutual understanding and tailored approaches. This work underscored the importance of inclusive conversations that honor diverse lived experiences. Meanwhile, the artistic and cultural worlds continued to adapt to the era of enhancement. Sarah explored how poets, writers, and performers were incorporating neural technologies into their creative processes, pushing boundaries while questioning implications for originality and authenticity. She attended an experimental theater production in Chicago where actors used cognitive enhancements to embody multiple perspectives simultaneously, creating a layered narrative experience. Sarah's coverage delved into the evolving relationship between human creativity and technological augmentation. At the Vatican, preparations began for a new encyclical addressing technology and human dignity. Sarah was granted rare access to observe the drafting process, witnessing theologians and ethicists wrestling with complex questions about enhancement, free will, and the soul. The document aimed to provide spiritual guidance amid rapid scientific progress, emphasizing the need for technologies to serve humanity's highest values. Sarah's reporting captured the tension and hope embedded in this historic effort. In her personal life, Sarah and Emma faced their own challenges as they navigated public scrutiny and private growth. Their partnership became a source of strength and reflection, inspiring Sarah to explore themes of love, vulnerability, and resilience in the age of enhancement. Their shared journey enriched Sarah's storytelling with authenticity and emotional depth. As the neural enhancement landscape continued to evolve, Sarah launched an educational series aimed at young adults, demystifying the science and ethics behind cognitive technologies. The series combined engaging narratives, expert interviews, and interactive elements to foster critical thinking and informed decision-making. Feedback from educators and youth participants affirmed the series' impact, highlighting the importance of accessible and empowering information. Reflecting on the decade since Elon Musk's Vatican visit, Sarah recognized that the story of neural enhancement was far from complete. It was a living narrative shaped by countless voices, evolving values, and the unpredictable interplay of human aspiration and technological possibility. Sarah remained committed to bearing witness, asking difficult questions, and amplifying marginalized perspectives. Her work embodied the belief that the future of enhancement was not predetermined but co-created through dialogue, empathy, and collective responsibility. As neural enhancement technologies matured, the question of their impact on human rights and societal norms became increasingly urgent. Sarah traveled to Geneva once more, this time to cover a session of the United Nations Human Rights Council focused specifically on the mental autonomy of individuals in an era of cognitive augmentation. The debate was intense and multifaceted. Advocates argued for the recognition of neurorights to protect citizens from unwanted interference, data exploitation, and coercive enhancement practices. Opponents, often representing tech companies and some governments, cautioned that overly stringent regulations might stifle innovation and economic growth. Sarah documented the intricacies of the negotiations, the power plays, and the moral arguments, presenting a vivid portrait of a world at a crossroads. Parallel to the global political arena, Sarah explored grassroots activism in Latin America, where indigenous communities expressed concern about the imposition of enhancement technologies that clashed with their cultural values and spiritual beliefs. She attended gatherings in the Andes, listening to elders speak of the importance of preserving natural ways of knowing and being. Sarah's reporting gave voice to these perspectives, emphasizing the need for culturally respectful approaches that honor diverse epistemologies and worldviews. In cities like Tokyo and Seoul, Sarah investigated the rapid commercialization of neural enhancements in consumer markets. The blend of cutting-edge science with aggressive marketing raised questions about informed consent and the societal pressures to conform to enhancement trends. Interviews with young users revealed a mix of enthusiasm and anxiety, illustrating the complex social dynamics shaping adoption. Sarah's articles called for greater transparency and ethical standards in the burgeoning industry. At the Vatican, Sarah attended the unveiling of the new encyclical on technology and human dignity, a landmark document emphasizing that technological progress must be guided by compassion, justice, and respect for the whole person. The encyclical called for global solidarity to ensure that enhancements did not deepen inequalities or erode human freedom. Sarah's coverage conveyed the document's profound spiritual and ethical insights, highlighting the Vatican's evolving role in contemporary debates. On a personal level, Sarah faced a turning point when her latest investigative piece exposed unethical neural enhancement practices in a major corporation, leading to public outcry and legal scrutiny. The experience was emotionally taxing but reaffirmed her commitment to truth-telling and advocacy. Emma stood by her side, offering unwavering support and partnership. Together, they strategized new ways to strengthen accountability and empower affected communities. In the arts, Sarah observed emerging genres that blended neural interfaces with virtual reality to create immersive narratives exploring identity, memory, and consciousness. She attended a groundbreaking exhibition in Berlin where visitors experienced layered realities that challenged conventional perceptions of self. These innovations sparked philosophical debates, which Sarah wove into her writing to illuminate the evolving human condition. Education continued to evolve alongside technology. Sarah documented innovative programs in diverse settings, from rural India to urban Brazil, that integrated neural enhancement tools with culturally relevant curricula. These initiatives aimed to foster holistic development, blending cognitive skills with emotional intelligence and ethical reflection. Sarah's reporting highlighted hopeful examples of education as a transformative force. Reflecting on the sweeping changes of the decade, Sarah recognized that the story of neural enhancement was not just about technology but about humanity's enduring quest for meaning, connection, and dignity. She understood that this journey required ongoing dialogue, humility, and a shared commitment to a just and compassionate future. Her work, both public and personal, remained a testament to the power of storytelling to illuminate and shape the paths ahead. The culmination of Sarah's decade-long journey came as she prepared to publish her comprehensive book, Minds Unbound: Humanity and Neural Enhancement. The project was a labor of love, weaving together the multifaceted stories, ethical quandaries, and cultural shifts she had witnessed since Elon Musk's controversial Vatican visit. As she penned the final chapters, Sarah reflected deeply on the profound transformation humanity had undergone, how the boundaries between biology and technology, self and other, had become increasingly fluid. The narrative wasn't one of simple triumph or dystopia, but a complex tapestry of hope, fear, resilience, and adaptation. Her writing emphasized the enduring human spirit amid rapid change. In the book's closing section, Sarah explored the lessons learned from the global dialogues on neural enhancements. She underscored that technology alone could never define progress. It must be paired with empathy, justice, and respect for the diverse tapestry of human values. She revisited stories of marginalized communities whose voices had often been ignored, calling for continued inclusion and empowerment. The future, Sarah argued, depended on collective responsibility and the courage to confront difficult ethical questions. Alongside the book's release, Sarah participated in a global virtual symposium that brought together leaders from science, faith, government, and civil society. The conversations revisited many themes from the decade, from mental privacy and social equity to the spiritual dimensions of enhancement. Sarah's keynote highlighted the power of storytelling to bridge divides and inspire collaborative solutions. The event concluded with a shared commitment to ongoing dialogue and action to ensure neural technologies serve the common good. On a personal note, Sarah and Emma celebrated the completion of this chapter in their lives with a quiet retreat in the mountains. They reflected on their shared journey, the challenges they had faced, the growth they had experienced, and the unwavering bond that had sustained them. Their partnership symbolized the human capacity for connection and love, even in times of profound uncertainty. As Sarah's book reached readers around the world, she received messages from individuals transformed by neural enhancements, families grappling with new choices, and activists inspired to advocate for justice. These responses reinforced her belief in the power of narrative to shape understanding and action. Sarah's story was now part of a larger collective journey, a continuing exploration of what it means to be human in a world where mind and machine intertwine. In her closing remarks, Sarah returned to the question that had opened her first chapter: what if you suddenly lost everything and had no one by your side? Through her work, she found the answer rooted in resilience, community, and the enduring quest for meaning. Life, she wrote, is full of surprises, but love and shared humanity will always lead the way. The journey was far from over, but Sarah's voice had become a beacon, inviting all to participate in shaping the future with wisdom, compassion, and hope. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?